Okay. That's what you can see.
It's a good sort of 20 seconds.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, no worries, no worries.
Quite a long delay.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. I'll get the rest of the page sorted. Let me know if like the image of my face is too big or too small or anything like that. I can
but it's still not
trim that down.
up.
No.
You guys, can anyone hear us talking just now?
Maybe reload your page because I'm getting that it's live right now.
Oh, and got an advert.
Oh, you got an advert, nice. Advert worthy.
Hey,
Hey, nice
we're
one.
back.
Maybe a little bit smaller or a little bit larger.
Where is it? A little bit smaller, maybe.
Yeah.
Where's the chat?
There should be like a live chat button. Yeah. I'm just sorry for the trippy video right now. Close that down a bit.
Okay,
There we go.
totally lost the chat.
Maybe if you go just scroll down a bit. There should be like live chat.
Yeah, usually there is.
That's peculiar. Let's see. Maybe I've
Just
not.
do another refresh.
I mean, yeah, it's still here. Everything's working. Echo's much better. Okay, great stuff. Yeah, technical difficulty sweeps, but welcome. Nice to see you. We were having a bit of like Dalek style audio reverb or echo or something like that throughout the previous attempt. So I just wanted to, shut my computer down and start everything back up again because I don't know how computers work. So that was just my best guess on how to fix everything. My wife Yvonne, for those of you who don't know, is joining me today and will be sort of reading out your questions and comments as we go with today's video. So she's just trying to make sure that she can get a hold of the live chat so she can see what you guys are typing while I set up.
Unfortunately not.
Oh, crumbs.
You want to start your drawing and I will... Oh, here we go.
Hey, nice.
Great.
Okay, cool.
We've got people again.
Okay, so
Hi.
for the gist, again, sorry to go over what I've already gone over, but there are new people on this stream and stuff like that. We're going to be doing some drawing today. We're going to draw my first ever D&D character. Their name is Len, as you can see on the screen here, and they are incredibly edgy. There's been a lot of guesses about what this character is so far.
Yeah, unfortunately the feed, all the comments that I could see previously have been white.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
But general consensus I think was probably elf.
Yeah, elf is very, very good. I'm elf obsessed, so yes, bang on the money there.
I think people were suggesting elf cleric.
Ooh, cleric.
York suggested human fighter.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to take a guess? Just quickly before Josh.
While I start sketching up a little bit here.
So I think we're going pretty edgelord here.
Oh yeah, no, I was edgy AF. So yes, we got come with your edgiest responses.
Apocalyptic moth. I'm really curious about what this asbestos thing is.
Yeah.
The history of asbestos.
Why are we talking about asbestos?
It's a great place to draw inspiration. You're gonna have to explain more.
Yeah, man. Like, does asbestos mean something different to you, or like, because wall insulation is not like, toxic wall insulation is not my ideal topic of conversation. But like, man, if you have like asbestos law or something, let me know.
Yeah, and please let us know what your first characters were, and what kind of tropes and cliches you fell into. I was just saying in the comments a few minutes ago that mine was a tiefling warlock, of course, purple skin, black hair, Pact of the Beast, was it?
You were Fae. You were Pact of the Fae.
Oh, it was Pact of the Fae. Sorry, yeah. So I went big. Orphans, of course.
Of course, yeah, as all
every
characters.
first character has to be an orphan.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comments again. Oh, here we go. Elf Rogue. Yeah. Paladin.
Yeah.
I could see you playing a paladin when you were at school.
I
You were
did.
very righteous.
I did have a nickname back in the day. My surname used to be Simmons, and I was Saint Simmons because I was always basically just very anxious. But always tried to nervously stand up for people.
Yorick was snubbed from playing his first character Galadin because nobody else wanted to DM.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fair. I hope you've had a chance to play Galen since.
The apocalyptic moth is asbestos is a naturally occurring thing that is found on the earth. It was used occasionally in the 18th century Europe.
Okay.
Still confused.
Yeah, like was your first character made of asbestos or?
Okay.
You know what? After yesterday's lore live stream, I just trust Apocalyptic Moth. Like, there's definitely some good lore in there to use for sure. I don't feel like that's an edgy enough expression. I think we might need to teenage this guy up a little bit more and get the oh god, what is his name? Jaden Smith eyebrows. The kind of like I'm trying to make the letter M with my eyebrows kind of thing.
Ragnarok said theirs was and still is a human ranger that has basically become Geralt of Rivia.
Yes, nice. Geralt for sure is amazing.
Wow. So you're still playing your first character. Is that because you're quite new to D&D, or have you been playing the same character for forever? Actually, what's the longest anyone in the chat's played one character? That's
a really good idea. And have you ever come back to a character like years later?
Yeah, I think I was guilty of wanting to change character pretty much every 2 months.
Oh god, yeah. It did my absolute head in, like character retcons and all this kind of stuff, because you want to, basically what you wanted to do was play a dozen different characters. But
I was used to playing The Sims, where I just killed off a family every time I restarted the computer. Little Moth, my character was an angry drow rogue.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, nice and edgy. We're getting there. Bearing in mind, I want to say 15 or something like that when I played this character, because I did have a previous first character that was kind of like my introduction to D&D, but they weren't really a character. They were just, I'm playing a wood elf ranger kind of thing, and it's just clearly me exploring this world, that kind of thing.
Kitson says, my first character was sort of a parody. He was a bard, ASMR, a direct sort of reference to MCR, is that My Chemical Romance?
Oh, right, okay.
And it was all my emo angst, it must be. And
you're going to like this character,
But personality was complete opposite.
Oh, okay.
Mary Dion says, my first 5th edition character was none other than Otto Dare Slayer, I think. The famed fighter that rode a bullet.
I remember that from the bullet video. That was really,
cool.
That was really cool.
Apparently the asbestos comments were completely off topic.
Oh right, okay.
Trust me, we'll look into it. I'll come back to that.
I love this community so much. Random question: anyone heard of asbestos?
Half-orc fighter. I retired them.
Okay.
Ragnarok, you've been playing your character for 3 months now. Oh, so you're quite new to D&D, that's great.
Welcome. I hope you're enjoying the community. I hope you're enjoying D&D life in general.
Goot says, the first character I wrote up was a werewolf human fighter. They fell into silent enforcer cliche.
Nice.
But since werewolves aren't AL legal?
AL legal.
I ended up with a halfling bard. which sounds like
That sounds like a real turnaround.
yeah.
Um,
Someone's asking maybe how much did you pay your DM to let you have a bullet as a mount?
yeah, I would totally allow that if you guys were high level, or if it was like, I'm riding a boulette cub or something, you know, like, I basically, can I reskin a bear? Like, and that's fine. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Dante says, my first character was ASMR.
Nice.
He wanted to say ASMR.
I totally get you.
Which seems quite a popular first character.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Named Zeal, a warlock paladin multiclass that was essentially an angel of excitement and enthusiasm.
Oh, that's really cool and kind of cute as well. Yeah, like not very much not conventional. I'm liking that a lot.
It seems like a lot of people here are always the DM now.
Mm-hmm.
See a bit of a trend going on. Mel's Pillow says, my first character was Dragonborn but looked like Punk Dragon Cat Girl because I was 15.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that today. Well, I mean, not the Punk Dragon Cat Girl, but I mean like a lot of edgy teenage mistakes, we'll say.
AL is Adventurous League.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Not good with acronyms, but, you know, thank you for explaining.
Okay.
You're making this guy a bit too bulky as an elf.
Yeah, do you want to talk to us about your elf aesthetic?
Yeah, okay. So I really like, I think I was talking to Yorick about this the other day. He liked the idea of using my concept for elves as like Neanderthal elves, because I like making elves very inhuman. I like making them extraordinarily gaunt and you know, athletic, I suppose, but more alien. I like making sure that they are a separate species and not just kind of like sexy humans with pointy ears. I like the idea of them being a noticeably different species, so I know I usually give them like jet black eyes because I was a big fan of, you know what, I still am a big fan of Warhammer, and I remember collecting high elf armies when I was younger, and the artwork for that was just so haunting, this kind of grim dark, like, oh wow, they are fey creatures. They have these jet black eyes and they have kind of almost like conical heads, like their skulls were kind of pointed in at one point, and they just looked eerie but fascinating, and I think the eeriness is something I really want to capture in elves. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can carry some of that across here, but I am building him quite human-like, which I'm going to try and chip away at and try and make him look a little bit more gaunt and like, yeah, they kind of look like one monogender to me as well. Like, it should be quite difficult for a human to kind of tell whether or not they are male or female or whatever. And they're just very, very, very lithe and very kind of creepy looking, even if they are trying to be, you know, kind and helpful and what have you. So that's kind of what I'm going for here.
Aldrin has a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get that shirt?
Where did I get this shirt?
Is it from Ann Summers? Time Marker Shop.
So unfortunately, I don't know if this shirt exists anymore. I got it from, God, what is it called? Geek. No, it's like a green logo. A geek. Oh God. I can't remember what it's called. Either way, I think they went bust recently or something like that, or they merged with their parent company or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure if they still exist. But all I know is that they were American based, and I ordered a few things from there in the past, but they would always take like 6 months to a year to arrive, which is just, you know, not helpful basically. So I don't know. I can't remember what that. God, that's really going to bother me because it was quite a memorable name as well. That's the thing. Geek.
Another ASMR first character, ASMR Ranger, and that's Sam from World Virtual.
Ah, nice. Welcome, Sam. Okay, this is
Think Geek, thank you.
Think Geek. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Which,
Oh man.
like, hashtag not sponsored.
Oh yeah.
But if you're looking for a good gift, they do really good rucksacks called the Bag of Holding.
Oh
Which
yeah.
I got Josh about 5 years ago for his birthday, and he never stopped saying that was the best gift he ever got.
Yeah, that is.
So useful.
I use it every single day, and it is one of those things that is genuinely deceptively good carrying capacity. It is wonderful, wonderful stuff. I wonder if that company. I think that company might be separate, so you should probably be able to get that, even if the company's passed.
Apocalyptic Moth says officially the first elves were sexless, so it would make sense for elves to be androgynous.
Oh, that's cool. I like that idea.
That's personally his favourite style of elves.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you very much. I totally agree. So I'm hoping that with this giant scythe that I'm drawing, you can get more of an impression of how edgy this character is going to be. Very is the answer. So I will say, basically, the campaign that I first played was a variation on first edition, I believe it was, by a company called Autark, and they it's called Adventurer Conqueror King, and I would recommend it. I think it's taking out some of the Gygaxisms of first edition and made it a bit more understandable, but it was real fun, and I didn't know too much about D&D at the time. So all I knew is I loved elves because I was a big Dragon Age fan at the time, and I wanted to be a spellcaster. So warlocks didn't exist in this edition, but there were wizards. So I played an elven wizard, but I made them as warlocky as possible because I didn't know that was an option, basically. So as we go on, you will see more of the warlockiness of my hideously edgy character. And this, by the way, is so edgy that it's kind of DeviantArt levels of cringe, where it's like, oh yeah, part angel and part devil kind of levels of cringe. He wasn't, but yeah.
Can we talk about the scythe?
The scythe, yes, we can talk about the scythe. What would you like to know about the scythe?
Oh, just it's uber edgy.
Yeah, I mean, it is tremendously edgy. I was allowed a staff,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, could I have that as a scythe? And the DM said, do you plan on cutting people with it as a weapon? Because first edition, like, you're not very proficient, and that means, with a lack of proficiency bonuses and stuff like that. In first edition, that was utterly useless to you. And I was like, no, it's purely for aesthetics, and I'm a little edgy teenage kid. Can you please make that just my staff? But I wanted a big cutting weapon. It's going to be important to this character's culture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
York says one way people can distinguish elves from half elves in my world is that elf ears grow longer as they age until
Nice.
they reach World of Warcraft size.
I like that very much.
Half elves are stuck in Tolkien size.
Mm.
That's a nice differentiation.
That's pretty much. I do a very similar thing. I like the idea. Although I didn't really think about them growing particularly. I just had like elves have very long ears, and half elves have kind of like the point, the Tolkien point.
Your elves tend to have horns as well, don't they?
Yeah,
Antlers?
so yeah, I kind of like, in my campaign world, elves are completely immortal, and they can pass on their immortality to children, so they have to make a choice whether or not they stay immortal or if they age and die, but they can have kids. And if they choose not to have kids, then they develop like exotic headgear, if that makes sense. So like high elves grow antlers, wood elves grow kind of like moose antlers, drow end up getting like curled goat horns, kind of like sea elves get like a big fin, and I had like some other ones and things like that. I can't remember what else I did, but yeah, like snow elves, moon elves get like a unicorn's horn and things like that. I liked all this idea. So it was a nice marker of like, they aren't aging as we would process it, but they are still technically aging. So
Jojo's with us again. Hi Jojo.
nice to see you, Jojo.
And we've got TP Nomad
Oh, nice.
in as well. Kitson says, I always love edgy characters, they fill me with pure joy, but edgy characters, again, who are still pretty well rounded.
Oh, yeah,
This
yeah.
makes me nostalgic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it would be a great campaign to like go all out edgelords.
I have to say, for my stag do, one of my players DM'd for us in the evening, because we were very, very cool, obviously, and he had made some homebrew characters and classes and stuff like that, and basically he had made, everyone got to pick a character, but he had made all of the character tropes that I like to play. So one of them was like the edgelord character class that gave you like a +4 bonus to everything as long as you said something really edgy before or after it, which was a challenge that I could not pass up. So that was really, really fun. It was basically like a rogue with far too many knives and oh no, it had like a katana or something like that. It was that edgy.
Mm-hmm. Mel Skunk is saying, I love how uselessly edgy a scythe is.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah, it's so just cumbersome. It would just get in the way. Like it has absolutely no function. But yes, I loved it.
Yeah, I think with your first character, you add those extra flavors in that you just drop later on. Like my first character would only sleep in trees.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It seems at the time that I felt like that was a well fleshed out character.
Yeah.
And now, well, after you kept making me roll to see if I could sleep in the tree without falling out.
And random encounters and stuff like.
It got boring really quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry I killed that moment for you.
What character traits did you regret in your first character?
That's a good one.
Someone was saying earlier, I think it was Apocalyptic Moth, that their first character was, their entire personality was being alcoholic. So that's, not great. So what did you start doing that you ended up regretting? Kitson, feel free to steal elf horns for your campaign.
Yeah, please. Anything that inspires you guys during the process of these little live streams, absolutely feel free to enjoy those. Anything that helps this community grow and have more fun, basically.
Apocalyptic Moth is living up to their name and getting real dark right now.
Oh yeah?
In a fantasy world.
Yeah.
That's an important part of that sentence.
Yes.
If you were a dying person with leprosy in a leper colony, what dark, non-demonic power would you call in for aid?
So, hold on. Dark, non-demonic power.
Would you call in for aid if you were a leper in a fantasy leper colony? I can't believe you don't have an answer off the top of your head right now.
I don't know. What's your answer off the top of your head? Like, what? I'm in drawing mode. Like, my brain is only semi-functional. It's like, is that like? What have you got? Oh right, I was like, he's making an obvious reference here, Josh. Like, you're clearly missing out on something. I was like, dude, what? But no, goodness, I'm my edgy powers.
Mary DeYoung says, I wonder if playing a green hag as an edgelord would spice up a campaign. I am all about hags after that video. I edited the audio for Josh's hag video, and I am in love with the idea of playing a hag. I think they're brilliant. Yeah,
you do like an old lady aesthetic though, don't you? Like you're very, very close to your gran, and like you're into the like doily aesthetic. So I think you could rock a hag character.
Ragnarok says our warlock was almost killed because he dropped a scythe on his head.
Yeah. That seems fair. That seems. You know what? Like my DM did like to punish me for making a character with a scythe in similar sorts of ways. Like that's a really cumbersome thing to get down this narrow corridor. How are you going to achieve that?
Yark is showing his DM colours here. He says, I actually like scythes because in the hands of giants they can be used to mow down legions of player characters. Yeah, he did. He did tell me about that at one point. That is a really, really good idea. In the hands of a giant, for sure, a scythe is an amazing weapon. Okay, Aldrin says, here's a question. Any tips for playing a character of the opposite sex of the player? I would just say, if you're a guy, lady in a campaign, please don't do a really high-pitched voice.
I mean like this, hello.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
No, there's no need to do that. I never really change my voice when I'm playing a female character unless they have like a noticeable accent or something. At which point I will, use that. But really, I think just play them as you would a character of the same gender, and because it's hard to imagine the struggles that the opposite or like the other gender go through, unless you have like siblings who are that gender and all this kind of stuff. It's difficult to put yourself in that mindset, so it might be a good idea just to just kind of play them as you would your own gender, basically. You have any tips for that? You play a lot of male characters and stuff like that. So
I've only played one male character, and basically I just did my impression of my brother all the way through.
It was beautiful.
I think my dad might be listening though, so I'm not going to go into too much detail like that.
Oh boy.
The apocalyptic moth is pressing for answers for the leper colony. It's for world building honest.
Okay. So I'm not allowed to. Did he say non-demonic or non?
Oh,
What was the detail?
Scroll back.
Sorry, my bad.
What dark non-demonic power would you call one for aid?
Oh right, okay. I feel like there's got to be something like the Yellow King or something like that. The this kind of abyssal, not abyssal. Like H.P. Lovecraft style horror that I think you could make a bargain with, I'm sure, that is quite happy to, or like, hags actually might be quite a good idea here as well, because they would almost certainly help you out, and they are pretty good with the whole filth and decay and so on and so forth, if they've not orchestrated the filth and decay.
Non-demonic.
Yeah, about like extraplanar, are we counting that as demonic?
You guys have totally lost me.
Sorry, no, like eldritch horrors, are we counting them as demonic in this case? Like, are we counting Cthulhu as a demonic threat, or no? Because I mean, you could go to a deity if you want to go for something semi-nice.
Goop says, what about a hag? Ragnarok says, what about the supreme squirrel?
The supreme squirrel?
Yeah.
Why not? I suppose. I don't know. The supreme squirrel.
I don't know. Okay, I thought.
No. That's not just you. That's I have no idea. Fill us in on the supreme squirrel.
So how are you getting on with the armor there then?
So yeah, the idea is that he had kind of like purely decorative bits of plate armor here and there, and to kind of balance out my AC, I just put lots of cloth everywhere else. So I wanted to make it look, again, I have a thing about elves having sort of magically infused everything, so like their clothes and their armor and their hair and everything like that is in some way infused with magic. So I wanted to have something that looked very, justified the kind of Final Fantasy or Warcraft style aesthetic of things that look way too big and should weigh you down, but for some reason do not.
And here's a nice one from Ace. Pro tip, if you need inspiration for a new character, look at art for Magic the Gathering and find a picture that you like.
Yeah.
Right, backstory, which is great.
I love Magic the Gathering art. I have never played Magic the Gathering. I feel like that is a rabbit hole that I would truly never escape from, because you obviously have to pay for card packs and stuff, and I feel like I would blow all of my money on that. But I love the idea of it.
And here's a good one for you, because this is something you definitely do in your homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
How do you all deal with sort of races as nationalities of a certain place?
Yeah.
Like elves are posh speaking Brits.
Yeah.
And when you were writing your world, I had one stipulation,
Yeah.
which was please don't make dwarves Scottish, because they're
Yeah.
always Scottish. They're always short, ginger and Scottish.
Yeah,
and being
that is-
a ginger Scottish person myself,
Yeah.
you go to kind of resent it, but you do
Yeah.
associate certain
Yeah.
accents with certain races, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So, I mean, most cringe-inducingly to my players in general, I do Australian accents for my drow, because I really like the fact that they live down under. But I do generally associate them with nations. Again, that's probably something that I picked up from Warcraft, if I'm honest. But I really like that idea. It makes it sort of, you could have an accent of the nation where these guys come from. And I tend to do, elves can live absolutely everywhere, but I'll do...
And Elskog, I feel like they might have said this just as you said this.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a great comic with Drow as Aussies and they're down under with dangerous spiders.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally it.
You typed that before you said that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Brilliant.
That's so good. Nice one.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I feel it works quite
The
well.
Supreme Squirrel
Mm-hmm.
was the god of all nature, and Ragnarok thought it was the funniest idea for a god.
I like that idea a lot. That is really cool.
Okay, yeah, I think people are loving the Down Under fun.
Good. I'm glad I'm in a group of my own people here who are okay with puns, because good grief.
Hi Camus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Okay, Ragnarok says the dwarves in my world are posh because they get all the gold from the mines and they're Dutch.
Oh, that's
I don't know
cool.
why, though. I just thought I'd make them Dutch.
That's very cool.
Fun accent to do, I guess.
Yeah, I tend to make my dwarves kind of like Eastern European or Russian sounding, because I remember there was one campaign that I played with that basically me and somebody else randomly rolled up dwarf characters, and we'd never played them before, and he was Russian and basically just started kind of using his own accent for a bit. And then I thought, you know what, that sounds really cool. And also I was playing this in Scotland with a bunch of Scottish people, and Scottish accents are one of the things that I get most nervous about attempting. Mostly because, if I'm playing in front of a lot of Scottish people, like, it can be quite nerve-wracking to try and do somebody's accent who's in the room badly. So I started doing a Russian accent with him, and it's kind of stuck for my dwarves in my campaign as well. I really like doing a kind of Russian dwarf the whole time. I think that's really good. We actually had a dwarf character who all of the players in my previous campaign became quite obsessed with, who was Ugrid, who was an artificer who I'd initially just planned on being a character that would be like a vendor for the guys, but they enjoyed the Russian accent so much, despite its like not being good, that you guys pretty much forced him to come along for all of your adventures, basically. So yeah, he was good. He was good fun.
We've got a couple of comments about maps here.
Oh, yeah.
And asking about your map making.
Yeah.
Which I believe there's a new piece of software that you're mad into now because one of your patrons recommended it.
So I'm not actually, so there's actually two, basically. So there's, I use Incarnate for my world maps, because I hand drawn them years and years ago, and it's quite a good tool for translating maps that you already know what they're likely to look like and things like that. But they don't perfectly suit the kind of steampunky type world that I like to inhabit. So they're really good for like larger maps and so on. But there is another one that one of my patrons called John Foster put me onto a little while ago, and the name of this software, I kid you not, and it's no association to me whatsoever, nothing like that, is Arkenforge. Not Arcane Forge, but Arken, like Arkenstone, Arken, right? And that is an amazing piece of software for making dungeon maps in particular, and making them kind of interactive if you want to use a screen of some kind, but you don't have to. I personally use it because I have a set of perspex sheets that I put over my D&D table. They're still yet to arrive, but I'm planning on that. That a lovely lady in Glasgow has cut for me with a laser cutter, and basically I print out these maps that I make on Arkenforge. I place my my perspex sheets over the top, and they have a 1-inch grid on top of them, so they, I never have to change the grid. I never have to print out all these different grids and all this kind of stuff. I can just print that one, print out whatever map I've come up with, and then place this stuff over the top. And it's absolutely stunning piece of software, so I would highly recommend Arkenforge, despite the fact that it sounds like I'm endorsing myself. So yeah, don't worry, I am not endorsing myself. It's a really cool piece of software, and I would very much recommend that, as well as Incarnate.
Hi Kathy, thank you for joining us. I've been thinking of you lately and wondering how you're getting on with this isolation. I feel like that might actually be kind of up your street. An excuse to stay indoors. So I hope you are all doing well.
Welcome to the Stay at Home Club.
Yeah, stay at home, stay safe, stay at home.
Yeah.
Stay nerdy.
Stay creative. I mean, go with nerdy if you want. Let's not lie about what this is.
Yeah, so is there, here's one from TP. Ever
Nice.
tried Wonder Draft for world maps? It's incredible.
I have not actually. It looks very similar to Arkenforge, to Incarnate to me. I haven't given it a try, but I've heard good things about it. I'm glad to see you guys would recommend it as well. That's definitely a good incentive to go and check it out. What kind of things have you made on it?
Millskunk, my Waterdeep residents in one campaign have a Bostonian accent, and I know that you're pretty good at a Bostonian
I can't actually do a Bostonian accent very well. I can do like New York, and they're fairly similar, I guess.
What's the impression you do of the guys on the boat that pull the guys that...
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure I can say it without swearing.
It's quite weird.
Yeah, it's quite swearing. But yeah, good.
Bostonian accents.
Yeah, Bostonian accents, very, very good.
What if lizard folk had New Orleans accents? That's a great
That's
accent.
so cool. We went to New Orleans on our honeymoon. We went to 3 different stops, all of which were in the States because we're a bit obsessed with the States. And New Orleans was there, and we absolutely loved it. Although it was it like 30 something degrees? It was 38 or something.
37 degrees.
Yeah, we got off the plane at like 3 a.m. and it was 37 degrees. And bearing in mind, like,
disrespectful heat. That's what they called it.
yeah, disrespectful heat. It was not cool. We were not prepared living in Scotland. It was not okay.
Kathy says she was born ready for the isolation.
Nice. Yes, Kathy. We're in there with you for sure.
Oh my goodness. Apocalyptic Moth, do you know that Josh did a degree in linguistics? Are you ready for a long answer?
Oh God, right.
How do you handle the evolution of languages in your world building?
Oh man. Right. So how do I give you a response? It's not a whole video. Okay, so I try and actually, you know what? I try and keep language fairly simple in my games because I know it is one of my buttons. It's one of the things that I am fairly obsessed with, and will therefore, like, if I'm trying to make like Elvish a language, I'm always very tempted to go like, right, I'm going to make their syntax and morphology. I'm going to make, not just symbols for them, but I'm going to, how their words end when they're talking about neutral genders and all this kind of stuff. I can go on for days and days and days about it. So, and as fun as that is for me to world build, I have to often stop and tell myself to think about whether it's fun for my players to play as well. So I do little things, little bits here and there that I can enjoy, but won't detract from the enjoyment from my players, if that makes sense. So, for example, in my world, the elves are descended or altered in some capacity from giants. There's potentially trolls or furbolgs or something along those lines were involved in their creation before they became elves. So, and I like to have giants as one of my kind of more primordial races use something that looks a bit like Norse runes, because I love Norse mythology, and there's a lot of giant type stuff in that. So I will include little bits here and there of like actual runes in my Elvish, while kind of changing the shape of those runes in different alphabets and things like that, at least over time, to make them more kind of curved and less angular, less Norse and things like that, to kind of signify that they're Sylvan influenced and things like that. But I'll try not to go too overboard, but I very easily could. So I'm glad you share a passion for that as well. And I don't know, let me know in the comments if you guys are kind of into your DMs going crazy with language evolution, or if it's just purely like you just want to play the game. I never know if I'm overstepping the mark with like my obsessions when it comes to world building and D&D, whether it's just something that, am I wasting a lot of time on this because I want to make it, or is it actually going to feature in the game? Are people actually going to play that and be interested in it? I don't know. So
well, it seems like Mel Skunk is into it.
Nice.
Yorick says, in that case, can you send me your giant language dictionary?
Hell yeah. I can send you my giant sort of language cipher, because I tend to use like just English letters and so on for my players to translate. But yes, I can show you some slang and things like that I've come up with in giant at some point, Yorick. That sounds really cool.
Group says, in my campaign, furbolgs were Goliaths who got lost in the Feywild.
Oh, that's a really nice idea.
Does anyone here listen to Adventure Zone? Because I'm really enjoying the furbolg.
Yeah.
Justin
it?
McElroy's furbolg.
Yeah, that's really cool.
He doesn't have a name, I don't think. He just wants to.
He didn't when I last heard.
I'm quite far behind.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, a really good character though, and I love the fact that because I usually see furbolgs as quite elven, if I'm honest. They're almost synonymous to me in certain aspects. But I like the idea that they could be a bit more grizzled and grim as well. So I like that idea a lot. Lots of good character building goes on in.
Hygerius 44 has joined us as well.
Nice to see you.
So, just to go back to, hang on, before I do, we've had a few more messages.
Okay.
Mary Dion says, I'll usually have a smattering of different languages in my homebrew world, enough to be engaging, but not make an entire plethora of languages.
Yeah.
Bill Scott says, I tend to keep my languages that players see more about the scripts and specific vocab, but stick to regional names for my own pleasure.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's very, very good.
Sam says, I'm not good at much in things like languages when I DM. I'm just good at monster design behaviour, not ton else.
That's fair.
Yeah, cool.
That's what you need. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what the players, that's the actual game. That's what players will interact with for sure. And if I'm making like a puzzle around it or something like that, I might expand the lore a little bit more. But, if someone's never going to see it, I can happily think about it, but whether or not I dedicate a lot of time to writing about it is different.
Tigerius 44 asks, when can we expect more horror and disgusting stuff? And I know that you have some pretty horrific Monster Mondays coming out soon.
So, I've got the Nightmare next week, which I went pretty body horror with, I'll be honest.
It might be the darkest one you've done, yeah.
It's certainly like as a vegan person, it was quite upsetting to draw. But it's a good. I enjoyed it a lot as well. Like it was nice to do. You know how much I like my body horror. As it is, my patrons are voting on their next kind of batch of monsters right now. I think there's like 4 more days for the monsters in May. And it looks very like the False Hydra is quite high up on that list. So you never know. In May I could be drawing a False Hydra, which is going to be very, very grim and disgusting and eldritch and body horror-y. So it could be May, but it could be sooner than that. You never know.
So I was just going to ask you there. So this is your first character that really made it anywhere, or spent any time playing.
Mm-hmm.
However, you did have a really unfortunate initial character.
Oh
You
yeah.
want to talk about?
Yeah. So
I'm just in the sort of pitfalls of the very first game.
yeah. So my very first game, I enjoyed making this character. I'm obsessed with elves, so it was another elf, obviously. If in doubt, I will always roll an elf because I can't help myself. But I rolled a wood elf ranger because I wanted a wolf as a pet. Because who doesn't want dogs? And basically, I had no idea what I could do, what was available to me in D&D. Basically, I was playing when I was maybe like 11 or 12 or something along those lines. It was a long time ago, my first foray into it. And I joined an existing group in my school that was run by a sixth former, like the highest year in my school, and the only people playing were people in my age. So, he had a very tough time for himself, basically he would sort of speak very calmly and quietly at all times because we were a bunch of rabble basically who couldn't be quiet for 2 seconds, and he never repeated himself. So if we talked over the top of him, we just missed that detail, and that was you done. You didn't hear that the dragon was right in front of you, so you've got to act however you want to act. Which is a good way of rallying us. We learned to be a lot quieter, a lot quicker. But he was quite harsh, and when I didn't know what to do, I was too nervous to kind of ask questions, basically, so I just, went about what I thought I should do. The party had rescued a princess, typically, like the session before I arrived, and they were off fighting a dragon next because, it was all action all the time. And my very first session, I said, right, okay, well, I'll look after the princess then, because I don't know how to fight. So, I don't know how combat actually works in this, so I'll just, learn from you guys fighting the dragon, and I'll keep an eye on the princess. So I was like, cool, how do I make her comfortable? How do I, help her out? What does she need? And so he said, right, make sure to ask her what she would like. And we were in a tavern, and I said, cool, what can I get for you? How can I make your life comfortable? And he said, right, so she's a princess and she's used to the finer things in life, so she wants you to order one of everything on the menu. And that's how I lost all of my gold in session 1. It was looking after a princess, and I just sat on the sidelines while a dragon was killed by my cohorts, basically. So that was a good lesson in go where the action is. Basically, don't wait for the action to come to you.
Yorick has a good idea for a future stream. He would like to see you make a new monster combining pre-existing D&D monster and fusing it with a Pokemon.
Ah, yes.
Which actually you created, or you...
I found online that there was some Pokemon online.
Yeah.
There is actually a channel who does that already, who literally does exactly that thing. And I wouldn't want to tread on toes. I can't remember her name, actually, but she's a really good artist. So long as that wouldn't be treading on someone's toes, maybe I could send her a message and say, hey, some people have asked for this. I would love to give that a go, because I do love drawing Pokemon. I could literally just draw like the monster version of Pokemon for D&D. I think would be totally fine. I don't think that would be treading on her intellectual concept, if that makes sense. But I like the sound of that a lot, Yorick. That sounds really cool.
Dino Wiki has joined us and is surviving all of the COVID-19 dramas.
Nice. Welcome. Dino Wiki has a fantastic name. I feel very excited every time I see a comment from Dino Wiki.
Okay, TP Nomad has got to go. They're running a session tonight.
Ah, nice.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Have a wonderful time. Make sure to wash your hands and pass those Constitution saving throws. Tell me about your first character. What did you learn about your first character, and what sort of what things did you really love, and what things did you maybe like not want to do next time, all this kind of stuff? You?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you personally. I mean, obviously, guys, definitely feel free to comment on that, because I would love to hear about your characters. But also like, I get very distracted while I'm drawing, so I'm quite happy.
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely a character that refuses to sleep anywhere other than in trees is a really bad, flawed concept from the beginning. I think a lot of my early characters, I didn't really want to get too involved in combat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out a reason for them not to do that when they were like warlocks and things.
Yeah.
Like that. My most recent character is was a schoolboy who was on work experience who accidentally got swept up along with the party.
Absolutely my favourite character that I played alongside, by the way.
So that was a good way around me being useless in combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just basically hid for the most part.
But yeah, I really didn't know what I was doing at all with my first character. And I found like RP like impossible when people would sort of throw me a line of dialogue to riff on. I would just be like, dear, frozen in the headlights.
Yeah, you like to prepare lines at one point, I think, which I think is one of those things that people tend to do, and then they get nervous when they go off script and stuff. I don't think it's like awkward. It's just like if you go off script, it's really hard to get yourself back on track to a comfortable place. And I as I say, I used to be a tour guide. I've had a lot of jobs over the years, and tour guide was one of them, and I really loved it. But it's one of those things that you could find yourself very easily falling into a script and going like, we're at this point, I'm going to use these same jokes that I used last time, I'm going to use these same facts that I used last time without altering them or whatever, or saying them in a different way. And then as soon as someone asks a question, you're just completely thrown for a loop, and you can't get yourself back into that mode that you were in.
Yeah, that's something that I really struggled with, and mostly because the characters in film and TV that I really liked and was trying to recreate were usually like the strong silent types, so they didn't have much in the way of dialogue for me to sort of get my head around.
That's one of the big things in D&D is like, early character mistakes I think are, I always say this kind of thing, like people want to be Geralt of Rivia, and like obviously it sounds like it's working for, I can't remember who said they were playing someone quite Geralt-ish, but like personality wise, Geralt and most main characters in stories are blank slates. Like they are there for you to project onto and they are the window into this universe for you, so they don't often say too much. So it's difficult to play a character who's very cool, but there's nothing really going on. They don't have a particular character for you to riff off of. But if you play like a supporting cast member, then they have a very distinct character. They're much easier to jump into. So that's what I always tend to do. I really enjoy characters like that now.
Devon Chastain, which is that your D&D character's name? Because that's an awesome name. My first character was a Kenku Bard.
Nice.
Cool
that is pretty cool. I think, didn't someone get kicked for being a Kenku Bard in our last live stream? Someone was talking about they had to kick a Kenku Bard or something like that.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Mel Scott says, when I first started I had to write out so much stuff for my characters, like 20 pages of backstories. Now I know the personality and vague outlines and add details as needed. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what you should do as a DM as well. Like that's totally how you should write DM notes. Is just like keep it loose. Because I used to do the same thing when I first started DMing. In particular, I would write out like, okay, what's in this shoebox? It's in this corner, and if there is no shoebox, if there's no reason for a person to go in there, then I'll just, just in case, I'll write, 10 dozen items that could be in this person's pockets and what have you. And this is why DM tables exist, and why you should.
I like this one.
Yeah.
I only played as a PC once. This is Steve Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the session was the last of their line: a renegade, a maverick, an outcast.
Nice. My
guy was a painter-decorator who saw a scroll he should have, and oops, warlock.
That's amazing. I love that so much. That's a really good idea. Oh boy. Oh, I can hear Myrtle.
Growl, I think.
Myrtle the French is having a growl at nothing. Would you mind maybe seeing if she's okay?
I'll speak to her.
Yeah, I'll go and speak to her. How dare you, Myrtle? Sounds like we're going to reprimand the dog. Is it Bella? Staffy never barks, but Myrtle's a little rage goblin. She's the Nilbog, so Well, maybe she was winding up Bella. You never know. Could be. Bella's the potato, basically. We have two dogs of the exact same colour, and from the back, when someone sees them for the first time, they always go like, "Oh, are they? You know, is this one the child of the other one? That's so cute." And they turn around, and Myrtle looks the same as Bella, but as if she just ran into a wall, basically. She's got the little French bulldog face. What else have we got? Who else is in the chat? Bella, come through. Come on. Just having a bark at nothing still.
I'm just looking back into the chat here because Mary DeYoung had a pretty cool, if not, it's cool, but this might be my particular phobia.
Oh god.
As one who likes to play centaurs as well as brother, I made a homebrew race of cat centaurs called Pod Firkin. They're about as tall as a halfling and make for great characters.
That the gnome factor is quite high there, Mary, but I like the sound of it. Like that has danger written all over it, but I like the idea of it too. I think
a few months ago, before I'd seen the trailer for Cats, that might have been less terrifying. But now whenever it's some sort of cat-human hybrids, I only have one mental image of that. Apparently Wemix are lion-like and Podfirkin are from domestic cats. Which is cool.
Nice.
Group would like to know what your thoughts on Kenku are. There's quite a few Kenku players in here.
I like a Kenku. I find them very hard to for players to play, I think, because the idea that you can only speak through sounds that you've already heard. Like, what catalogue of sounds has your character heard before they start? Were they mute up until this point and they can only use things that they've heard on the campaign? Is quite a difficult one. Do you sort of say what your character would say and then say, but he says that in a dozen different tones and dialects, or do you go for it? It's difficult to play. I think one of the things that I would love to see, I would absolutely adore seeing this, is for someone to get like a dictaphone or a sound deck or something like that, and literally record things that they are hearing in the session and only use that to speak. But the difficulty of doing that is so immense. I don't know how you would. So I like a Kenku. I really do like a Kenku. I think they're great fun, but again, like, the annoyance factor is quite high there, and you have to be very cautious about how you play them, I think. I think it's definitely one of those ones that's like up to DM's choice, because the last thing you want to do is really annoy the DM who you're playing alongside. So if your DM hates the concept, it's probably not a good idea, but I've seen it played well, basically. I've seen it played well, and I've seen it played terribly. I've seen more good than bad, and I like them personally. So yes, I enjoy it. I enjoy a Kenku.
Soup says the mimicry trait is the reason my Kenku character is my best character, which is
nice.
Very cool.
Yep, I like the whole mimicry thing. That is. Does it get stale for you? Do you find it hard to mimic things all the time? Do you like have the same noises that you go back to and things, or like how do you do it? Do you kind of say that that's what your character would say, or do you actually mimic things? How do you go about it when you're role-playing your Kenku? I'd love to hear your interpretations of.
So I know that drawing wings is basically the bane of your artistic life. How do you get on with like what you're doing at the moment with these scales? Because you're not good at repetitive tasks.
No, I can't stand repetition. This is like one of the things that really annoys me about how my brain works, and if anyone else has ADHD, you will understand, I'm sure, what you're talking about. Obviously ADHD is different from person to person, but personally, again, I always, to people who don't know, ADHD is a very, very strange way of living. Like I have medication that helps me concentrate and kind of clears out some of the myriad of things I want to do all the time, and helps me like complete tasks. But one thing that it can't really help me with is boredom, and boredom. There isn't a good way of sort of explaining it, but the best I can think of is that it's not far off a physical pain. Like it's obviously not physical. It's purely a mental thing, but it is as taxing to my mind as physical pain would be to my body, if that makes sense. So repetitive tasks like doing feathers, I absolutely can't stand, because once I've done one wing, that's it. I don't want to do another one. It's too time consuming. I get bored, and boredom is like literally painful. So yeah, I struggle with that. There's a few things I really struggle. Tentacles as well, despite my love of aberrations. Like the Kraken video I did, I was so bored drawing that, because the concept in my head was great and I loved it. I loved the way it turned out, everything like that. But having to go back and draw all those tentacles over and over and over again, and draw all the little spines, little teeth on the inside of it, and once you start it, there's no way to stop. And I'm not very good at compromising my ideas as well. So I was actually saying to John Foster, one of my patrons, the other day, that at the beginning of the month, when I know what monsters I'm going to be drawing, Yvonne and I sit down and have a discussion about like how I'm going to go about drawing it, because I have like an idea in my head and I'm terrible at compromise, right? So like the Hydra video in particular was one of them, because it was we sat down and I said like, right, okay, I've got a Hydra to draw. I really want to spend a lot of time on that one. I'm really going to enjoy it. And it becomes a negotiation of like, right, how many heads are you going to draw? I want to draw 5 because they're supposed to have 5 in the monster manual. Well, all right, you can't have 5, you can have 3. And then we end up negotiating down to like, right, okay, I can have 3 heads, but one of them's regenerating, and then there's 1 neck left over. It's like, okay, fine, you can dedicate that amount of time to it. It works out quite nicely. So we have to moderate what I can actually stand to do, because you're actually better at assessing what will drain me. I'm not very good at sort of keeping up with that and noticing those things, if that makes sense. But you can see it as an observer a lot easier than I can as someone who's experiencing it. But yeah, the wings pretty much. I don't know. Is there anything else that you think? I can't really think right now. Tentacles and wings.
So a few comments on ADHD or ADD here. Apocalyptic Moth also has ADD, and 100% agrees with that description.
Nice, welcome.
Bronwyn says, I find it super annoying that all things ADHD make us do, including hyper focus, it's named as attention deficit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have a real issue with the hyper focus.
Yeah, definitely.
As much as anything else. So it's almost, it's pretty misleading, because it's almost the opposite of the description ADD.
If I could change the name of it, I would call it intention deficit disorder, because like my intentions to do things are always very high, but whatever I have the actual energy to do is totally different. And also like, prioritizing tasks I'm really bad at. So, like paying bills sits in the same level of effort in my brain as, feeding the dogs or, any of these other little tasks. So like a task, no matter how large or small, is quite draining, so it's frustrating.
Guys, can we keep it friendly in the comments? Like everyone's creations are their own, and we want to hear everybody's ideas, so if we could keep it nice and friendly.
Oh goodness.
Sweep says, I considered using a sideboard, but I decided against it, so instead I just take notes of good phrases that the party members and NPCs use.
That's a really good way to do
Now
it.
I have a full page of phrases to use from previous games.
Nice. Love it. That's a really cool idea.
I can actually see players tormenting each other with this.
Yeah.
I feel like Joe and James in our group could
both of them are good culprits for a Kenku player. I think that'd be really fun.
Or they drive each other nuts with
I think,
that.
right, obviously none of my players know, we haven't had our session 0 yet for our new campaign because I'm still, writing my massive lore bible type thing, and assembling all the extra extraneous stuff that I, can't stop myself from doing. I think James and Joe are actually potentially playing the same species in my upcoming campaign, which will be very interesting because I almost never have two people playing the same species in my campaigns. Not out of I don't instruct people not to do that. It's just there's so many choices now. It's kind of interesting if people go other than human, obviously. Like a lot of people want to go human and stuff, but it's very rare to get in my campaigns two people playing the same species, at least. Sometimes get the same class. Not always.
Bronwyn says, that's a great description. Executive dysfunction is a big issue in our household. All of us are neurodiverse.
Ah, nice. I'm glad you guys are getting on well with it.
Yeah, does that work out quite well? Because everybody kind of has...
understands
it, really. I think sometimes it's difficult to understand from the outside.
Yeah,
I think you're pretty good at describing it. We're quite good at working together on things, but sometimes
it's about always making
it.
sure you check in with one another about why things are working and why things aren't working, I guess. Thankfully we're quite good at talking to each other about what's happening and how we're feeling and things like that, but if you don't do that, it can be very easy to why are you acting so irrationally in this circumstance, why are you acting so rationally in this circumstance, this kind of thing. It can be difficult to deal with. I'm glad you guys are getting on with it.
Yorick says, so far the only giant I have that isn't based on a pre-existing one is the all-elemental giant.
Ooh.
So far all the details I've thought up is that they have 4 arms and they're either 16 or 20 feet tall.
Wow, that's cool. Yorick is, did I mention that Yorik's giant obsessed? I feel like I have. He's he does a lot of good giant lore.
How do you deal with players that constantly meta the game?
So I've not had many that have really done this. I've played in campaigns where it's happened though. I've not been the DM, luckily, where that's happened. And it's tough to deal with. The DM that I played with dealt with it in the capacity of eventually I'm the DM, so what I say is the final word kind of thing, which I suppose is one way of taking it. It does set up for this kind of adversarial nature somewhere down the line, which I personally don't like. What I tend to do is, if someone's being very, very meta, I tend to go with a vote within my party if someone wants to, make a... the classic example is that darkness can go around corners, so if you cast darkness in a tube, then you can make a beam of darkness because it collides on itself. This kind of meta stuff. So what I tend to say is, if a player wants to do that, I rule of cool it. So if they think it's a really fun idea and they really want to do it, then I will put it to a vote within my party and say, is that how you want the darkness spell to work? Just bear in mind that if it works for you, it also works for me. And if they start abusing it, then I start abusing it, or at least I let them know that could happen. It's never needed to, I've never had that issue, so I don't know how effective that would be. But it's always been a safe deterrent when I thought someone was kind of getting a bit meta-y, to say, if that's how you want that to work, that's how it's going to work for me as well. It's, the rules aren't person exclusive. But yeah, how about you? How have you dealt with meta stuff in the past, guys? Maybe we can all come up to a consensus here in the comment section and see if we can help some people out.
Devin Chastain is asking, what's your opinion on homebrew settings? Have you ever played or DM'd one? Oh, yes.
Yeah, so if you look at my previous live stream from yesterday, that talks about my my homebrew setting. And I have never not played a homebrew setting. Well, never not DM'd a homebrew setting. I have played in a non-homebrew setting, I believe. Although my first, actually, I think the setting that this guy was in was potentially not homebrew, but I can't honestly remember. I was too wrapped up in my own edgy edgelord self when I was playing this character to pay enough attention. So.
Yorick's coming back for the Marvel
fans
again.
Oh, so actually, I reread that yesterday. He's not talking about Marvel as in Marvel Comics.
Oh.
He's talking about Marvel, which I had never heard of before Yorick had acquainted me with it. But essentially, you remember Smallville, the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
There was also a comic made by Marvel Comics that was a parody of that, and it was awful, and it was like Smallville Marvel, and is one of the worst. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to shame writers who are trying to do their best, but I really hope that wasn't someone's best. So
He says, do you have a superhero team that you just don't like at all? Mine is New Guardians.
New Guardians.
The New Guardians.
I don't actually know the New Guardians. Like, the name rings a bell, but I can't really think who's in that. There definitely was someone I couldn't stand. I was super obsessed with superheroes. I'll be honest with you. Like I loved the Teen Titans comics and stuff like that, and I felt like that was getting fairly alarmingly obsessive at some point. Is there any that I didn't like?
Oh, we have a new person joining us. Hi, Jack. His name is Colby Monroe on Patreon.
Oh, Colby Monroe. Hello. Nice to see you. It's nice to put YouTube usernames to patrons as well, because like a lot of times I'll talk to some of my patrons and be like, oh yeah, no, this is great, yada yada yada, and they'll say, yeah, I know, we talked about this in your comment section. My name is blah 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 blah. I will be like, oh, okay. I am sorry to bludgeon you over the head with information that you have provided me. That kind of thing. So it's like, I had this really cool thing from this guy who's definitely you. That kind of thing. So, yeah, nice.
I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with this character from discussions.
Mm-hmm.
What was his ultimate fate? Did he just stop playing him, or did he meet a grisly end?
This character. So I ended up stopping playing him because the deck of many things came into play.
The end of many a good character.
in this campaign, this is my first introduction to the deck of many things, and I'll be honest, I love the deck of many things. It's one of those things that I have to resist putting in every single campaign. I've not succeeded so far, in some capacity or another. Basically, in this campaign, we had to have two characters. We had to have our main character and then a backup character. And this wasn't a backup character that we never saw. This was a backup character that we also had to roleplay. And this is a system that I don't deal with very well. I wasn't very good at dividing my attention between two characters. I'm a big culprit for if I come up with a new character concept, that is my character now. I can't get that character out of my head. So I want to play whatever the new thing is. So I tried to make this character as boring as possible to go alongside my wonderful edgy wizard here. And then the deck of many things came along, and I had made a really, really edgy character out of him. And I wonder if I should just explain the lore of both of these characters to kind of make sense of what happened. Basically, the character that I'm drawing right now is an elf called Len. And like I say, he was a warlock before I knew warlocks were things, and I was playing an edition of D&D that didn't feature warlocks. So he was a wizard, and basically, in this campaign setting, there was a magical sundering, and I, to have magic was kind of semi-rare, or at least very special. And so I wanted to play a wizard, and I had to have a reason for it existing, for me having access to magic. So I invented the idea that my cluster of elves, a little community of elves, got magic by bonding their soul with demons, because I was very cool and edgy. Basically warlocks, essentially. And that's how he got his magic. He was trying to be like a good guy with this power, but that's how his culture knew that they could get magic. They didn't know that there was any other means of really harnessing magical power, but they knew that this process was difficult. And so they, because I was a big fan of Naruto at the time as well, they had these binding runes and tattoos that they used to bind demons to their souls. So he's covered in tattoos. I'm a big tattoo fan. He had a sort of a half-brother who his family adopted, who was a half-elf, and it was believed that humans were too weak to bind themselves to a devil. So in a culture that was so infused with magical energy, this one guy was like the one fighter in that community, because he was not allowed to practice magic in the way that they practice magic. So that was my other character, Ulrin, a name that I've used a lot in World of Warcraft and stuff since. Basically, I played the deck of many things, and I role-played that Ulrin. Ulrin got his draw of the cards, and he ended up getting access to a wish. And I thought, what would Ulrin wish for? Being his edgy, angsty self. Well, his buddy Len that I'm drawing here is all into the magic, and his culture doesn't believe that he's allowed to have access to the same magic that Len is allowed to have. So he would wish that he could be bound to his own demon and prove them all wrong. And my DM was like, bound to a demon, you say? I get to make some fun stuff here. And so basically my character, actually I don't really like the way that art's going. My character became obscenely powerful and a little bit evil. And basically he became much cooler and edgier and more fun to play than my original character, Len. So I played him instead, basically. I focused on that. So that was...
Bella, stop it!
Bella, pal, do you just want to be on the live stream?
Oh
my goodness. Oh, she's really having a howl.
Oh dear, it's a very upset dog.
My goodness.
Bella.
She's not usually a barker. What's going on? What are you seeing? She's getting nervous about what she's seeing outside, and it's pitch black here, so I don't know what she's seeing. Mm-hmm. The house is obviously haunted. So we've got,
definitely haunted.
yeah, we've got that to deal with, obviously.
We've got a few new people.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Mikael Nielsen.
Nice one. Hello.
And Scott, who is in the white frozen north in Ontario at the moment.
Oh, nice.
And day 2 of shutdown.
Ah.
Jack was saying that they gained a character through the deck of many things, which I think we did in our last.
We did, yeah. You in fact got a follower.
So my very first character, my Tiefling Warlock, actually, was it the Void card?
Dungeon.
Dungeon.
Yeah.
So I got banished to
an extra plane.
Yeah. So that was the end of that character. But I was quite relieved, to be honest.
Yeah.
Guys, different opinions are fine, but we're trying to keep everything happy here. We're all in isolation, and we're just looking to have fun, light-hearted chat. So
do we have some salt in my comment section for the first time?
we're all good. We just let's just keep things
fair dues. Let's keep
nice
it
and light.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
Good. Do you want to just bring her through here so she can chill out with us? She's obviously nervous. Ella. Oh, she's so unhappy. I wonder what she's hearing. Maybe it's... Oh, you know what it is? It's I think it's next door have just had a baby. She might be able to hear it crying. Yeah, she's a nanny dog. She doesn't like upset things. Little Bella. She's such a sweet old girl. She's... Oh God, how old is she now? She's 11 or 12 now.
13. She's an old lady.
Little potato. Yeah, this is Bella. I don't know if you can see.
Making the noise.
Yeah, little upset dog. Come on, you come sit with us. Do you want to close the door there so she can... Oh, Bella, we'll look after you, pal. I know. It's all very sad. It's all very exciting as well. There we go. Much more happy girl.
Right, where are we? Scott says, I still play AD&D, 51-year-old Luddite.
Nice.
But crafted a deck of many things which required the players to actually build the image as a puzzle.
Ooh.
And draw it to get the effect.
That's a really cool idea.
Just drawing did nothing. That is cool.
That's a really nice idea. I love that. Anything that gets my players drawing, I think, is great fun as well. So,
Kitson is really liking your hand drawing, which is a skill that I admire because Josh doesn't use reference images when he draws.
I get too distracted.
Straight off the dome, which is a skill I wish I had.
Yeah, for those who don't know, my wife is also an illustrator, but has been a graphic designer her whole life. So the two of us have come to art from two totally different backgrounds. I've always been like into comic books and things like that. I never went to art school, but I learned character drawing, so I really like drawing faces and hands. Basically, are the things that I tend to focus on. And you are much better with kind of like spatial awareness and planning out like the overall visual representation of the image, which I struggle with completely. So I think it's like together we sometimes work on tasks together. If I'm like trying to make something that I want to make a poster or something, you're very good at helping me with that kind of stuff. But yeah, we've got a totally different set of skills, I think, but we both make art, so that's pretty fun.
Sorry, I'm just reading
that's
the
fine.
comments here. Bella's getting some love. Yeah,
good old Bella.
13 years old, so she's a real old lady, and sometimes she just gets spooked by stuff and just decides to have a good old bark.
Yeah, she's the sweet potato. We call her Potato because she looks like a little baked potato. She's a round little sweet girl, and Myrtle, the French bulldog, is the nilbog because she is a little angry goblin. So, and I love them both absolutely, but they have such different personalities. And I just wish Myrtle would learn a little bit more from Bella because she's usually so chill. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're playing the deck of many things. We were rounding up our campaign recently. In the last couple of weeks, we've came to the end of our sci-fi campaign.
Yeah, I gave the deck of many things to someone.
So one of our players, for his birthday last year, we got him a physical deck of many things. So he's been using that in the last session just for throw a bit of chaos into the mix.
Yeah, it ended up turning the ending of a campaign that I'd planned for like 3 weeks into one night. So it was they rapidly went through my encounters because it was just like deck of many things. Right, okay, I've got infinite wealth now. Okay, cool. We're gonna buy everything really important. Like, oh god, right, okay, I need to very quickly plan for what you guys are gonna do. I love the deck of many things because I really like being surprised as a DM. I like having control, and I like writing everything, and I like planning for everything, but just as much, if not more more so, I like when players come up with things that I can't possibly predict, and the deck of many things is so good for just throwing a spanner in the works. I like random, I like chaos. I'm a big Demogorgon fan, that kind of thing. So
we've got another new person commenting. Hi Grant. One of my players does drawing all the time for bonus XP.
Nice.
Another makes use of spreadsheets for bonus XP. We all have our skills that we can express in this hobby. It's too true.
Absolutely.
I'd like to know what what you DMs out there give people XP for. We get XP for particularly good puns.
Yeah, I give inspiration points, especially for puns.
Oh, sorry, inspiration.
Yeah.
XP.
I sometimes give XP.
What do you guys give inspiration for in game?
That's a good call. I used to give XP a lot for translation puzzles with my languages. A lot. I used to have like a weekly translation on the board, and if people could figure it out, then like if they figured it out by themselves, then they could have the XP, and if they figured it out as a group, then they could share the XP among the group, which was quite fun. I might start doing that again when we start a new campaign.
York says, actually I missed a comment earlier, which was what artists inspire you. Jurassic Show is just replying to that one. I'm still practicing my art. So far, the artists I seek out most often for references are Jim Lee, Ryan Otley, Akira Toriyama,
oh, nice.
Ed McGuinness, Don Bluth, Humberto
Ramos, yeah,
Sophie Campbell, and more.
Lovely.
Do you have any artists that you can?
I love a lot of different artists. There's a lot of astute people will be able to pick out little bits that I absolutely adore. A lot of those that you just referenced there are some of my absolute favourites. Ryan Otley in particular is stunning, and I like if you've never read Invincible, the comics before, definitely look his stuff up. It's very cartoony, but the colour palettes that he plays with are absolutely divine. They are insane. His line work is absolutely brilliant, and just the expressiveness of his characters, their motion, just like peak illustration in my opinion. There's a lot of people that I really, really love. Recently, I've actually become obsessed. I think Yorick and I have actually talked about this in the past. There's an internet artist that I really, really love called Filibuster Frog, who I'd really, really recommend, who is great at world building through illustration, and it's something that I wanted to make some videos about. I've contacted Filibuster Frog, and they have agreed to come on the channel at some point to talk about their work, because I was going to basically say like, oh, here's what I want to do, and basically just rip off what they do themselves, and I realised like I could just contact this person and say, you do this better than me already, can you come on and chat to my people about this, and they have agreed at some point, although I've left that hanging for a really long time. I should actually organise that, but really good at coming up with ideas for how your world might influence how your art might influence the world and things like that. I first became aware of them because they were doing one of the things that I now make a staple in my campaigns, which is how magic affects people who cast it and people who are attacked by it. So, for example, they have they've illustrated different scars and things like that different types of magic would cause on people. Like if you are constantly being attacked by magic missile, maybe you have like 3 purple scars on you or something like that, rather than just having like some wounds here and there. And then also people who cast certain spells very often, like wizards get signature spells, for example. If you cast fireball all the time, maybe you have like flame patterns, like Guy Fieri style flame patterns up your skin or whatever. Maybe if you cast frostbolt, you get frosted tips. Why am I just making Guy Fieri into a D&D character? You know what I mean, like this kind of stuff. So I really, really love their work. There's a lot of artwork that really inspires me. I really love, although there's various different artists who have worked on it, the tarot card style of illustration used in the Dragon Age Origins, I really, really adore. But that's several artists who have worked on those. I love the concept art for the Guild Wars. Guild Wars 2 is absolutely beautiful, sort of painterly sweeping brush strokes and lots of masked layers on Photoshop and things like that with lots of different textures. Absolutely stunning work to look at. It's not something that I am capable of. Like I say, I'm coming to Photoshop, although I've been doing this for a while with fairly fresh eyes, because I'm used to traditional drawing, and I'm over the 2 or so years that I've been making this channel, that's basically when I started using Photoshop. So I'm still figuring this kind of stuff out, and you're very good at helping me with little bits here and there, although I'm terrible at using shortcuts because I cannot get it into my head to use them.
You can use like a million shortcuts in games, but you won't memorize a single one.
I have keybinds. I have keybinds on my mouse.
Importantly, like important questions are being asked here.
Okay,
Josh.
okay.
What class is Guy Fieri? Food-based artificer.
Ooh, okay. I think he has to be maybe a sorcerer for making cooking sauces, but also because he could learn planar shift and therefore take you to Flavortown. So I think that's important as well.
Scott's asking how long we are going to be on for.
Good question. I might actually finish this drawing because I'm like into it. What do you think? Because obviously it's getting kind of late, but I have done the main body of this illustration now.
He says he's going to head home, but he can rejoin in 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably still go on in 45 minutes. I've done the main body of the line work here. I'm going to go over it and do my kind of outlines and things in just a second.
So there's a bit of chat here about XP, and a few people not using XP to level people up, doing it in different ways. Grant says, I work XP as inspiration in the form of XP gems that can be cashed in for rerolls or as 300 XP points.
That's a really nice idea.
Which is really cool, I like that a lot. Steve is freaking out, reckoning that Bella can see illithids.
No, thank you. I don't need that in my life, thank you very much, please. And unheard, that's nice. Oh god, is that just what the illithids want me to think?
Right.
On that note, just sorry, as a little aside, I think I talked about this a little bit in my GIF Monster Monday video, but if anyone really wants to freak themselves out in game and think about the idea that the Gith obviously overthrew the Illithid Empire and won, but that seems a little bit unlikely for this small rebellion to manage to beat their masters so easily in one fell swoop and for no one to really hear of the Illithid Empire ever again. So it could very well be, or at least my personal headcanon is that the Gith are still enslaved by the Mind Flayers, and that's the Mind Flayers just wanted them to think that they had defeated them, because that stops any rebellions. You know, that's if they think they're free, then there's no one fighting. So yeah, that's my personal headcanon for the Gith uprising.
Yorick is asking, are you playing catch up with any long-running franchises that have passed you by? For him, Star Trek and Power Rangers.
Yeah, I started rewatching Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation the other day. I caught up with Castlevania not too long ago because there was season 3 of that just came out. What else have I been watching and doing recently? There's I feel like we've embarked on some TV series recently that I have like what was it, like really 90s stuff. We rewatched Buffy recently, and that is just a gem.
I've never made it to the end of all those series.
Yeah, no.
I think we made it about 6 box sets in, and then we were like,
I forget every single time how cringeworthy it gets, and it is brilliant, but it is
we
like
did make it to the singing, the musical episode this time, which is the first. We never made it that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, even as a child, I tuned out of Buffy long before that. So
yeah.
Also, there's a real problem with school bells ringing.
Oh my god, yeah, Myrtle.
Our dog, even though we don't have a doorbell.
We don't have a doorbell. I don't know where she learned this behaviour, but Myrtle will not stop barking every single time a bell, like a school bell, goes. Also, I don't know about you, but like in the UK, we don't have bells like that. Like we had a school bell in my school growing up, but it was like a chime, like a digital chime. So I don't think I've ever heard one of those kind of like school alarm bells in real life, but apparently Myrtle has, and she hates them.
Greg says he's also just finished Castlevania, great stuff.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Jack says, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the new D&D Wildmount book, but I have one hell of a theory about a race from that book.
Ooh.
They introduced a new elf sub-race called Pallid Elves. I'm 99% certain them boys are from the moon.
Ooh, moon elves. Okay, that sounds very cool. Well, you know I love an elf. I don't own that. Is that only on D&D Beyond right now, or is it a physical book? Either way, I still need to check it out. and I will be very, very excited to do so. Moon Elves have been in previous D&Ds, and I'm a big fan of them, so we will see if they're in. Also, I know like one of the staples of my campaigns is chronomancy, and I heard that Matthew Mercer has added chronomancy in some capacity or another into the book. So we already have our own homebrew rules for like chronomancy and how that works, but I love time magic in specific in my campaign worlds. I have a lot of homebrew rules for it, and I would love to see how much of it overlaps or how they have balanced it in there as well. So yeah, very, very eager to see.
Jack has expanded a bit on his thinking. I'm assuming you're a guy, Jack. Because the Paladels are like the anti-drow. Drow lives in caves. And everyone knows the opposite of the caves is the moon.
Oh yeah, well yeah, of course, yeah.
That's quite fundamental.
Yeah.
The solid deductive reasoning.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. I like the idea of that. Also, what accent would they have? If Drow have accents for being down under, what would a moon elf have? What's like the opposite of Australian? What's on the exact opposite side of the world from Australia?
Oh, that's a good question. You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, no, I'm geographically challenged, but one of you guys will know. One of you smart people.
What accent did they have at the North Pole?
Oh God, I'm not even going to attempt that. I have no idea.
Polar bear.
Polar bear. The accent of whatever a polar bear sounds like. I love it.
Jack's telling us about this new book. The new subclasses are chronomancy, gravitymancy, and shadow clone fighter, which sounds pretty cool.
All of that sounds amazing to me. Oh my God. Yeah, telekinesis. Like, if I could.
Wait, hang on. This might be exactly up your street. Sam says Mercer's Dunamancy is a mixture of time magic and astrophysics, but in the form of spells. And Joss is just going to disconnect now and go.
I need that so badly. But this is the thing, though, as well. Like, this is a really bad time for that to come out, because I've mentioned before, I turned 30 in May, which means I can't buy anything for myself for a really long time, because if I get something for myself and somebody thinks that is like a good gift for me, then they will get it, and then I will have to do like the fake, like, oh my God, you got something for me that I had no idea. So I have to not buy that. So why have you told me about that? I'm obsessed with that, and that's going to be perfect, and I can't buy it for months and months. Is it coming out in book form, like soon, or is it just on D&D Beyond? Please let me know if that is coming out in physical form. Oh my God, that is amazing.
So some guesswork here from a few people about what the opposite of Australia might be.
Oh, cool, nice.
Canadian.
Okay.
Sam's guess. Mary says Midwest, like from Wisconsin.
Amazing.
And Jack says Swedish accents.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are all sound
actually,
pretty cool.
You do a pretty good impression of South African and
I can do South
Australian. Rewinding into each other. Right?
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
That is kind of almost.
That is actually,
yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
The trick to I'm so sorry for any South African people who are watching this, and in fact any Australian people who may be offended by my terrible Australian accent. I always say, because they sound so similar to my ears, having like an Australian accent, although there are obviously many, many different kinds of accents in Australia, is to imagine that you're playing Australian on a record backwards, and that's how you get to South African, because it just sounds a little bit more delayed like that, that you're kind of hearing it, it's more truncated at the end there. But otherwise it's got very similar sounds.
Apocalyptic Moth is from Wisconsin. He can attest that they are indeed all from the moon.
Ah, perfect. Nice. Good. Thank you for the confirmation. Good to know where the moon elves live in real life.
Yeah. Jack says that he believes the book is out now, but doesn't know for sure.
Okay.
Did you get an advanced copy, Jack? Bronwyn says there is the bad Australia accents.
No worries. I appreciate you being okay with me doing that. If it helps, English accents are usually, and Scottish as well. Like we both get to hear some real beauties being performed throughout the world. Also, if you meet someone from another culture and you have a noticeable accent like that, I feel like everyone automatically goes straight for the, oh hi, how's it going? I'm now going to do an impression of your accent.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh gets that a lot in Scotland.
Yeah.
Mocking his accent back to his face. Mary says, it's fun to hear out-of-state people, hence the city. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Okonomowok?
What?
Okonomowok. I'm gonna go with that.
Oh,
Mary, let me know if that's anywhere near.
that sounds
right.
cool. Is that a Native American name or something?
And County Man says your hair is slipping off to the side, it's distracting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tip the other way soon, and then it'll all flip over onto that side and like a liquid. No, I'm having a weird hair month or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to grow it out, but
It's not the time to go to a hairdresser anyway.
yeah,
so
for sure.
it might just get wilder and wilder
Yeah,
over the isolation period.
I only have a certain number of hair clips, man. So like, this
Oh,
is,
Paige is back. Hey.
Hey.
She's been listening but haven't been able to chat.
oh, well, welcome.
Oh, hang on. Oh, does BBEG mean Big Bad Evil Guy?
It does, yeah.
Oh, she's prepping for a BBEG fight in 30 minutes.
Oh my god.
Good luck with that.
What are you using for your BBEG? If you get time to write, obviously don't get too distracted from your writing if you're under pressure. But I would love to hear what your BBEG is for a campaign.
This sounds great. York says, I don't know if you know, but there's a YouTuber who has drawn Overwatch characters as D&D characters. He's called Pop Cross Studios.
Oh, I'll definitely have a check of that out. Check that out in the morning, I think. That sounds really, really cool. Thank you very much, Yorick. Definitely, I kind of want to carry on where I was doing some of those, because I did a magic item workshop for like how to play Moira from Overwatch. I would definitely like to carry on and do some more of those, so maybe we could team up or something. That would be really fun.
He also says, another idea for a future stream could be that you have to draw someone or something purely based off of a name.
Oh, okay. That sounds cool. I could do
That
that.
could be quite interesting, and do the reveal at the end of the actual artwork.
Yeah, that's a nice
See
idea.
how close or how far you get from.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like the sound of that. Yeah, if you guys are enjoying these live streams, again, they're here because we're all indoors, and I think it'd be fun for us to talk to each other and have a bit more of a community kind of thing. We all need a bit more entertainment when it comes to being isolated because of COVID-19. So I'm all ears. We're up for doing more of this kind of thing. Maybe you have a break tomorrow or something. I'm not sure, but you never know. Might be back tomorrow as well. I'll decide in the morning how I feel. But I'm going to try and do as many of these as I can to keep you guys entertained while you are forced to be indoors and potentially not getting to play D&D with your friends, and potentially not getting to go and do the things that you want to do outside.
Paige says that she has a player sitting with her, so she can't go into detail.
Fair dues.
But it's one of her character's older brothers, and he's a necromancer.
Nice.
She said she'll send me an email about that.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
Information.
Thank you for the details. That's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Dante says, loving these streams, good company while I make combat maps for my D&D session.
Nice.
That's perfect. That's what we were hoping to do.
Yeah.
We both quite like listening to things in the background. Like
Usually Grizzly
constantly.
Murder podcasts.
Yeah, Grizzly Murder podcast. I like some D&D actual play podcasts as well, which is good fun. But in general, I just want to hear people talk about D&D all of the time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, pretty much. If I could just have that pumped into my brain, I'd very happily just listen to people talk about D&D all the time.
how are you guys all coping with the isolation in terms of your game? Are you moving online? Are you postponing things for another time? We've just finished a campaign, so it actually fits in really nicely to have a break, let Josh catch up on some of his writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be good to hear
how you guys are getting on, and if it's affected your game playing at all. I imagine it probably has, but
or any of you starting new campaigns with the people that you're in isolation with. May, I know you mentioned that you're writing for your kids as well.
oh,
How's that going? Group says, have you ever made a playlist to get in character for BBEG or PC?
I have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of playlists for different moods and cities and moments and species and dungeons and particular bad guys and everything like that on Spotify. I should probably just change my name on Spotify from my actual name to Arcane Forge and let that be like publicly available so that people can follow along with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do that all the time. I listen to that stuff constantly when I'm writing as well to get me into the theme, get me into the mindset of these characters, and it does Yvonne's mind in because like it's a lot of Jeremy Soule and there's a lot of panpipes basically.
No, everyone should be listening to panpipes of their own free will.
Not always. Like there's a lot of good action music and stuff, but yes, there's also a lot of atmospheric panpipes and things like that. Certainly, if we're going to go and see the GIF, and there's a lot of emotional Zen music and stuff like this. So yeah.
Jack says I'm playing 4 games online this week.
Wow,
That's
jeez,
great. What do you use to do that, Jack? Mary says she's mostly postponing. Existential Octo. Am I saying that right?
Existential Octo. Yeah.
Hi.
Bit of a mouthful, jeez.
My campaign is already online, so no change.
Sweet, that's cool.
Jack's saying it's actually picked up for them.
Really?
More games now.
Right, that's awesome.
Little Moth has sadly postponed theirs. Steve Harrison is trying to draw a map for his new world.
Nice one.
We'll be moving to after COS. COS.
I'm really bad with acronyms.
And yeah, for the foreseeable future, my game is cancelled. I've moved my elderly mum in with me. Oh, I hope that's going well, Steve.
I hope she likes D&D.
Playing on Google Hangouts.
That's nice.
Oh dear, my wife is a medic on the front line, so I'm probably riddled. So no in-person games for me. That sounds like a good call, Grant. I hope things are going okay with your wife.
Props to your wife, yeah, definitely.
Bronwyn says that she plays via Google Hangouts with people far away.
Nice.
Or play with kids at home, so not affected other than having more game time with kids. How does that work? Because I think if I had played D&D as a kid, I would have just attacked every single NPC.
Yeah, like Yvonne is a monster when it comes to computer games. Like every time I'm playing any computer game, and like we like to play them together and stuff like that, and like you'll watch some of them and what have you, but like every time it's just like kill that guy or like can you murder that person? It's like no, they're essential for the plot. It's like I didn't ask if they're essential to the plot. Can you murder them? Like so like thankfully you're not a murder hobo in my D&D games, but you definitely are in computer games.
I feel like the under 10s especially would be murder hobos. They're not to be murder hobo at that age.
I think they sound like they're better behaved than you are.
Mechanist Sunrise says we're discussing whether to risk meeting up in person for my West Marches style D&D 5e campaign. We're considering moving to Roll20.
Yeah, fair dues.
They are in self-quarantine due to mild respiratory sickness. I hope you start to feel better soon. Maybe not worth the risk, but Roll20 sounds like a good option.
Yeah, definitely.
Jack says he uses Roll20 for his groups.
Roll20 is pretty good. I've never really experimented with online play, to be honest. We've always been lucky enough, like we live in a capital city, obviously, we're in Edinburgh, so I've never had to play online. I've never really given it a shot. I think it's something that I would like to do. Like I'd obviously like to play a few more games maybe rather than DM every game, so maybe if that's something that I end up doing, I'd like to figure out Roll20 at some point for sure. That'd be very nice.
Jack says I wanted to run a campaign setting for a while where the premise is the players are in a computer game and the NPCs are all AI programs.
That's really cool. I love that idea. I think that's good for like you can go very meta with that as well. So that seems really fun.
Steve says, I actually DM'd for my friend's daughter is 9 years old, and then waits at Christmas. They were awesome, so much fun. Definitely not murder hobos. Okay, so
Nice.
not all kids are murder hobos. Bronwyn says, my kids want to befriend everything, and successful roles have seen them finish a campaign with a whole wolf pack and an Oberon toe. That's amazing.
That's so cute.
So I'm starting to feel like my brother and I were just horrible kids.
Yes. What are you talking about? Your brother's lovely.
Oh, shots fired. I can't say it.
Existential Octo. Yeah, just go for Octo.
Octo says, playing online is hard at first, but once you get used to it, it's the same as playing in person.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm finding that already since we've been in isolation for like 2 days. The number of video calls that I've had with friends and family is more than I think I've ever done in my entire lifetime combined.
Yeah.
So very rapidly getting used to that, like looking at someone, trying not to look bored while you're on the phone to someone, or like drawing and diddling or cleaning dishes while you're.
My thing is like when you're like voice calling someone to. I'm so used to talking over Discord and stuff like that when I play computer games. Like to have the quadruple chin when you're just like looking down the lens is so easy to do. So yeah, I think I would have to set up my gaming chair in a less lazy way maybe.
Group says I usually. Oh no, hang on. Did I read this already? No. I usually use rock music for my playlists, but for my campaigns deities, I try to use some classic rock and have it so that when they are nearby, they warp reality so that PCs can hear the music.
That's really cool.
In the game. So when the deity of life and nature appears, come together by the Beatles starts to appear.
Nice.
For the deity of war, welcome to the jungle.
That's really cool. I actually had a similar idea, well not like that actually, there is a connected idea, not similar, that I had that my players recently bypassed entirely in my sci-fi campaign, that I had speaking of Kenkus, I had a set of assassins who were like galactically famous, called the 4 Kenkus because they could replicate sounds, and I had each one was attuned to a certain different kind of music. Like there was one that would sing in dubstep, there was one that would sing in like metal, there's one that would sing in like swing music and all this kind of stuff, and when they did so they had learned like the vibrational frequencies of reality, and like so the dubstep one would kind of have like gravitational effects basically and kind of warp everything around it. The swing one could alter time and things like that, so they were incredibly deadly assassins that my players basically just ignored and we didn't end up using, but that's how DMing goes sometimes. You know, you come up with a fun idea, but something more fun is on the horizon, and your players will let you know what's fun and what's not, I guess. So, you know.
I'm just wondering if you can zoom out a bit actually and show.
Yeah, I can show you what I've been
close up for quite a while now.
So this is what I've come up with so far. This is.
Man zero to zoom out.
Is that right? Okay. So this is Len, my elf wizard, who is bound to a demonic entity, and that's why and how he has magic, and his big over-the-top magical scythe. But yeah, he had lots of individual plates of armor that kind of allowed him to, well, it was just because I liked the idea of, you know, battle mages and stuff, but I also had to kind of like counterbalance that by having like no armor on other parts of him as well, so yeah, it's like half plate, I guess.
He's looking very cool.
Thank you very much. I like him a lot. He's edgy AF. I haven't even put the tattoos on him yet, so he's gonna be extremely edgy by the time I'm done. But
hair, that's a lot of background.
Yeah, I like long hair. I'm growing my hair out now. I don't think I'm ever going to get it to elf length, but that is some pretty anime Final Fantasy-esque hair going on, so yeah. But I'll carry on with this.
Ragnarok says, oh my god, you're Cryomancer.
Cryomancer?
Cryo, wow.
Is that like as in cold?
It's past my bedtime, guys. I keep wanting to say chiropractor. Is Elsa from Frozen. It just hit me.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah. Cryomancer is Elsa from, yeah.
York says, have you considered making a fantasy versus sci-fi campaign, or as I like to call it, aliens versus elves. That is cool.
That is a really cool idea. I did kind of want to have my old fantasy world be just another world in my sci-fi campaign that my players could come and visit, and just reality had kind of slowed down here, or been lost to time, and or it evolved differently or whatever.
Group's making a really important point here. You're missing the classic edgelord skill. I feel like you need a sneer or art. Have you got an arched eyebrow going on there?
You know what? I might come back in and do that. I'll put some like edgy face makeup or something on him, give him some guy liner, and see what we can do about fixing that perhaps. But make him a bit more edgy looking.
What time is it in Edinburgh right now? That's a good question. It's 20 to 10, which is way past my bedtime if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah, no, we're old fogies really. Like.
Yeah, no, it's 20 to 10. Yeah, so it's been pretty miserable weather-wise here as well. It's been like super dark, so it always feels a bit later than what it is.
We
especially when you don't leave the house all day.
Yeah, for sure. Limited light, it makes you a bit drowsy and all this kind of stuff. As well, like make sure to keep your windows open and stuff like that during the day. Even if it's cold, get some fresh air in there, because carbon dioxide builds up as you breathe, and it can make you sluggish, it can make you tired, all this kind of stuff. So make sure that you are getting some fresh air. Even if you can't go outside, like just to make sure that there's some airflow in your house, because that really does build up, and it can impair your mind much quicker than you'd think. It may not be deadly, or not immediately deadly, but it's definitely gonna slow you down a little bit, and you might be like us and end up going to bed crazy early o'clock. Like I say that as if we wouldn't do that anyway, but we would totally just go to bed anyway. We're early birds when it comes to
I like this one. I one time played a character who's a 21st century man cast into a fantasy D&D setting.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. He
Really
had a
like
knack for making awkward comments that pertain to today but sound weird in the setting. That's cool.
That's a really cool. That's a really cool idea. I love that.
Oh, the reflection in the back is just one of the lamps. It's not the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We wish we had sunlight like that here.
No way. Yeah, it was that Bronwyn in Australia or something. Like, I don't remember the last time I saw the sun. We're in Scotland.
No, we've got lights set up because otherwise it looks like Josh is sitting in a cave.
Mm. Yeah, one of my sort of studio lights for when I'm making my Monster Monday videos. It's actually going quite a lot quicker than I thought it was.
I'm impressed.
I'm doing a lot more kind of quick, sketchy lines, but it's going okay. I'm used to my Monster Mondays taking
Maybe you should live stream your Monster Mondays when you pick them.
Yeah.
Did you talk earlier about our negotiations? And
I did, yeah, I did talk about
including your.
Yeah.
So if you ever see one of the Monster Mondays and it's just a head and shoulders of a creature, I'm sorry, but that was my fault.
Yeah, I had to obviously bargain to get more time on another creature, by the sounds of it, if that's the case.
It's all pretty close.
Yeah. What have I done there? Oh yeah, that's what I've done there.
Okay, Yorick says, do you have some personal favourite non-DC and Marvel heroes? Some of mine are Spawn, Exo Manowar, Invincible, Bloodshot, The Tick, Watchblade, Glory, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, definitely Invincible. I'm a huge fan of Invincible. In terms of comics, though, I think my favourite comic books of all time, and I would recommend these to any D&D fan or just anyone in general, if they've never read a comic, if they are a huge comic obsessed person, whatever, pick up Saga. Pick up the Saga graphic novels. They are there's some adult themes in there. Like there's a lot of gratuitous everything in there, but that's not the point of them. They're not they're not sort of everything on display for the sake of smut or anything like that. They are just really amazing stories, and they're absolutely an imaginative world, or worlds rather. They combine fantasy and sci-fi in a fantastic way. They have non-cohesive storylines that still manage to fit brilliantly. It's just, I think so far it's some of my absolute favourite writing and illustrations in any comic so far that I've seen. So they are incredible, and just please definitely check out Saga if you get a chance. As it is, I picked up when we were on our honeymoon and still have not managed to read a lot of Rolled and Told, I think it is, which has some beautiful artwork in there and is D&D themed. It comes with loads of monsters. It's basically like a Return to Dragon magazine, but in my opinion more fun, and has a lot of comics and dungeons and adventures, and it's just really fun. And again, beautiful colour palettes, wonderful artwork, and it's really cool. I can hear Myrtle snoring away in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear Myrtle having a little snore there. Our French bulldog likes to...
She looks like she's having a nightmare.
Oh really?
Yeah, she's kind of switching.
Oh, buddy, are you okay?
And Countermancer says, I've heard that spending time on the internet has the same effects as carbon dioxide poisoning. Yeah, sorry for putting you to sleep there.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm really in the zone with this drawing now, so like my speech, I realise, is probably slowing down quite a lot. I'm nearly done with these outlines as well, which is very nice, and that means we're pretty much done, or nearly done at least. I can do the colours and things.
Grant says that you can't hear the snores. That's nothing. Like when she really goes for it, she goes for it. Bronwyn is having to leave. Oh well, thanks very much. Cheers for joining us so early in the morning, Bronwyn.
Thank you so much for coming.
Bye.
What's the edgiest character you guys have ever played? Let me know in the comments section if you have played crazy edgy characters, like my little demon siphoning wizard here.
Oh, what about some of the people you've played with in other campaigns? Can you name, maybe not name and shame, but can you shame?
Can I just shame? You know what? I actually kind of sorry to disappoint, but like one of the best characters I've ever played was in the campaign that I was in here. There's a guy who works in the only D&D shop in Edinburgh who I played with, named Stu, who had a fantastically cool character who was called Lucian, who was also an elf, but he was an elf cleric and or a paladin, I can't remember, it was something religious either way, and he was hugely ashamed of being an elf because he had been abandoned by his elven family when he was just a baby. He'd been raised by a band of clerics, and he was so obsessed with the idea of becoming human that he had cut the tops of his ears and had these kind of those rings that people get sometimes that like go all the way up the finger and stuff.
That's a classic edgelord.
Yeah? Yeah. So he had those, but like as earrings that went over the top. So
an ear cuff.
Yeah, like an ear cuff, there we go. So that they wouldn't grow back pointy like an elf, so he could look more human. It was really cool. Like he basically like denied the fact that he was an elf all the time, even though he had like very elfy features.
I think abandoned elf raised by humans is quite a sort of first time player edgelordy.
Oh really? I would have thought that was quite like the opposite would be quite.
The other girl that played with us at the
Oh
very beginning.
god, actually it might have been, yeah. It might have been.
Yeah. Jack says
disaster.
he played a Yuan Tai warlock whose patron was the BBEG of the campaign.
Wow.
And it was a tight wire act, I'll bet.
Yeah,
oh,
definitely.
Crafty's here.
Crafty. Hi, nice to see you, Crafty.
Jack says, I started as secretly evil against the party, came to empathise with the PCs, betrayed my patron without him knowing it.
Ooh.
That is pretty cool.
Did you get to keep your magic when you did that? That's the thing.
That's a good question. Did you get to keep your magic, Jack? Paige says, I hope that my party doesn't TPK. They are fighting a high-level necromancer and some Abashi, and his special undead that can cast paladin spells. Everyone wish my party luck.
Oh my goodness.
Yikes.
Yeah, it sounds pretty traumatic. I'm very excited to see how that goes. Let me know next time we have a stream, whether that's tomorrow or the next day. Let me know how that goes. I'd love to hear if your party survives at all.
Crafty, we're just talking about what is the most cringeworthy characters that you've created, so if you have any.
Yeah.
Always just popped in to say hello.
Oh.
Okay, hi.
No worries, nice to see you.
Jack says he did keep his magic. Absolutely not. Oh no, absolutely not.
Right,
found
okay.
a new patron.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Goop is saying earlier you talked about how much you enjoy developing languages. Do you develop the written part as well?
Yeah. So if you go on Instagram, some of my most popular posts on there, weirdly, are my language ciphers. So they're not like the language proper. They are kind of an alphabet that is just the kind of English alphabet, as it were. So that my players can have fun translating, basically, rather than having to, go through an actual fully written language. And I've done one of those for almost all of the languages in D&D. I'm gonna put those up with Yvonne's help actually at some point as a set of fonts, or maybe just use them on D&D Beyond for people to codify for themselves.
That could be a good isolation project.
That sounds like a good isolation project. So that I do them to that extent. Again, like I would happily dedicate hours to writing my own actual written languages, using proper, again, morphology and syntax, but I feel like I couldn't be a DM as well. Like I spend so much of my time making videos and doing like DM, writing prep stuff, that I think if I spent time properly formulating my own mythical languages with their own grammars and beyond just alternate symbols for English, then I would be, I don't think anyone would actually see me for D&D. So I would love to, but have not, basically.
Jack says, have you dabbled in doing a full conlang at all? What's in your interest?
Just like a combined language, essentially.
Combined.
So like a Creole or something like that. The only extent to which I do that is I use a few phrases here and there in character, especially if my players don't know the language, for example. And like in the same way that if you're wandering around like a fantasy game that you've not played before, you might hear like the elves or the dwarves or something like that greet you in a certain way. And so for the most part, like if none of my players, say know Elvish or something like that, I might do the kind of NPC greeting, something like a Warcraft character when you click on them, the kind of Anaria Shela or something like that, some Ishlubanore Delana or something like that, just when they greet them or leave them or something like that, but it's not actually a language or anything like that. So just a little bit of flavour, yes, for sure. But I have not. Have you gone to that extent? Have you come up with this kind of stuff? I'd love to hear what you've made for your characters.
The Encountermancer says, I once talked to a friend who hated D&D into joining my gaming group. He only agreed to play because his character was actually the evil mastermind and got to betray the party for the final battle.
Oh, wow.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome.
And quite a massive secret to be sitting on
Yeah.
for weeks and weeks on
Especially
end
as
waiting
your
for
first
the
time
reveal.
playing D&D as well.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot to like
Um,
jump in with both feet, you know.
Grant says my party are around 9th level and are getting ready to take on a Tarrasque.
Ooh.
I don't think the Tarrasque will pass 3 rounds.
Really? What are they packing?
Oh, wait a second. The party have collected intellect devourers in lead-lined boxes to kill the Tarrasque. That is
Oh my god.
creative thinking.
That is, that's some good metagaming.
Crafty says, well, before I rolled my stats, I decided that I'm going to play a bard. My stats ended up ranging from 13 to 19, but I played him as the most obnoxious, attention-seeking womanizer ever. I'm sorry I wasted those good stats on a bard, especially the one I hate playing.
Oh, that's a shame. You can have a lot of fun with an absolutely truly revolting character, but fair dues. Hopefully you'll roll up some good stats for your next character as well.
Oh, someone's asking what the drawing's got to do with COVID-19. It's just, we're just passing time in isolation and chatting to people about D&D and COVID-19 if anyone wants to share their experience. Myrtle, could you stop nilbogging?
Yeah, making little nilbog noises over there.
Yeah, you don't need the sound effects, pal.
Yeah, but not actually dealing with oozes right now, so...
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's my line work finished, guys. So I'm gonna just do my grayscale, and this takes almost no time at all. So this is how I do my shading, basically. Boom, done. No.
Jack says, Conlang is, like you said, extremely time consuming, but it's something I think about doing all the time, but I just haven't done a deep dive. It's a whole hobby in itself.
Yeah, for sure. I knew someone who had done that before. She had tattoos of her language on her body, which is a hell of an investment. It was, it's like you say, it's a whole hobby in itself. And it's very, very, very cool if someone has the time to dedicate to that. I feel like that's one of those things that you do as a player for a while, and then you make your D&D world around it. I'm pretty sure that's what Tolkien must have done. Like, it was a big language nerd and made all of his languages, and then went, oh yeah, I can...
Jack's got to go. He's off to record a podcast.
Oh.
Let us know. Send the link.
Yeah. We'd love to hear more podcasts.
And M14SRV says that they are isolated in the 5% very high risk people.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
sorry to hear that. I hope you're staying safe and that everyone around you is taking part in the isolation and keeping everyone else safe. And we hope that you're finding plenty of things to do to keep you occupied.
Yeah.
Crafty says, I'm doing my best to give that character an arc so that he ends up being interesting in the end. Kitson says, really like the hands and big boy eyebrows.
Yes. Yeah, I like my elves having very fey eyebrows.
What are you thinking about the colouring here? Because I'm imagining that's like royal blue hair or something.
Oh, okay. No. So
No?
It's very, very bleached white. And he was only in white and red because it was like the kind of antithesis of edgy. Look, I'm not that edgy, but I'm using blood magic. Kind of character. So he was red, white, and black for the most part, which is now a color scheme that I shy away from all the time. Because I like pink, to be honest. Like pink and orange and purple are my kind of favourite colours. And green, I use a lot of turquoise as well, yeah.
Carter says, speaking of shading, time has come for me to give you a lesson, young boy.
Oh, goodness me. Please, lesson on.
Lesson.
Especially in English, apparently, because I can't use words.
Steve says, I've got 3 colonial cultures, each of whom have a few phases. Good luck, code, thank you. Down in their own tongue. I was inspired to do this by Pillars of Eternity, hoping it works.
Nice idea. Yeah, I haven't actually played through Pillars 1 or 2. I own both, but I have a massive game backlog, and because it seems like whenever I have an opportunity for free time, I just fill it with additional work in some capacity. So I'm really bad for just like, no, I am going to have downtime. So yeah, maybe I'll dedicate the time and actually play through Pillars 1 or 2, and I can figure out your
Group
reference
is
there.
asking, what's your favourite magic item?
Ooh, magic items. I really like the Robostars. I think that's a beautiful idea and has great utility. I think, to be honest, like my obvious favourite is the deck of many things, but because I use that all the time, I'm obsessed with the deck of many things. But if I couldn't pick the deck of many things, what actually we had a lot of fun with? Do you remember the folding boat that someone got? Was really cool. I can't remember what that was. Like the little. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, it's like a little paper boat that you can fold out into an actual physical boat. That was a lot of fun as well. I gave a lot of my players homebrew like Green Lantern rings in our sci-fi game at one point towards the end of the campaign when they were getting to their ridiculously stupid levels, which was quite fun as well. I homebrew a lot of my magic items, surprise, surprise, because I don't like to make life easy for myself. But yeah,
Crafty's suggestion for shading colouring is actually a really good one.
Nice.
Not.
I know that sounded so much more sour than it should have been. Yeah. I know. It's a really good one.
I'm just surprised I haven't thought of it myself to tell you. Then I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, that is a great idea. And instead of using colour, I use a gradient map adjustment layer with a little colder colour for the shadow and a little warmer for the highlights. Use the colour blending mode and paint with the layer mask. Cool, we can experiment with that tomorrow.
Yvonne will translate that into words I understand tomorrow, and we can see if that works for some Monster Mondays. Thank you very much, Crafty.
M14SRV says paper canoe.
Paper canoe. Yeah, that's probably exactly what that is. It was very, very cool. It's got a lovely blue colour scheme to it.
Catchermaster says, give that elf a chip. I mean, he's got a scythe. I don't think he needs a...
Yeah, it's yeah. Don't give him anything else to stab people with.
York says, I don't know if you know, but all the way back in your Wendigo video, I suggested Jungle Giants from D&D 2E. Absolutely adore your Sphinx design. In my campaign, they can breathe laser beams.
I love that sentence. I'm sorry. Can breathe laser beams is just a good sentence. I have missed. There it is. I've missed a bit of my bit here. Have I missed any other segments along here? Any connections? No, I think we're good. But yeah, thank you, Crafty, for your tip. I'll definitely look into that tomorrow. Get rid of some of this. Am I missing?
Crafty's offering to Skype you tomorrow.
Oh. That's very sweet.
Show you what he's got.
Excellent. That sounds pretty damn cool, Crafty. Yeah, I'd like the sound of that. I'll send you a message tomorrow.
Can breathe laser beam needs to be on the CV?
Yes, it does.
That's a question. Is there any way that you can adapt skills from your D&D experience into CV format? How would you phrase that?
Oh my god.
If you were putting D&D on your CV without actually just saying it's like a group, works well with groups.
Yeah. Team building exercises, mental arithmetic, leadership skills for sure. Yeah. Love it.
When you're starting out with your first CV and you've never had a job and you've got to really fudge.
yeah, the amount that you put in, I was really good at...
Listing all your scout badges.
Yeah.
I got a scout badge for making a fruit salad, so...
Did you?
Yeah.
I never did the scouts. Well, it shows.
Steve Harrison's got to go. Bye, Steve.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Group says, my favourite magic item would probably be the bag of tricks or pipes of the sewer.
Pipes?
I just don't know what that sounds
sewer.
Like.
Yeah, that sounds grim.
Robostar's is great, and I've been looking forward to when my party can use it.
Yeah.
Craft is free around 1 o'clock.
Cool. I will shoot you a message tomorrow. Thank you very much, Crafty. It's good having people to talk to.
Conflict resolution. Yeah, there you go. That's a CV.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so bad at writing CVs. Can't even say it apparently. And that's how bad I am at it.
Yeah, conflict resolution is good. I'm really surprised at how quickly this part goes in comparison with the rest of it.
Yeah. The line work takes forever. There's no real shortcut on actually doing the drawing, but I've picked up a lot of shortcuts in the meantime, thanks to, I think someone commented on like my first commission drawing that I ever did, just saying like, hey man, have you heard of clipping masks?
Yeah.
And then I asked you what clipping masks were, and it's now saved me so much time. So it's amazing.
Grant says, CV, I once choked a hydra to death with its own neck in a job.
Yeah, I mean, you get advantage on your intimidation skill if you do that. So.
Mary DeYoung says favourite magic item is bag of holding. I'm with you, Mary, is someone with a bad back. That would be my dream.
Yeah, that is.
If I could bring something out of D&D
for sure.
into real life, it would be the bag of holding.
That is a real winner.
Group says Pipes of the Sewer is a pan flute that allows you to control rats like the Pied Piper.
That's horrific and wonderful, and that's going in our next campaign.
And it's much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like the brown knot.
Oh, grim. Yeah, don't Google that.
M14 SRV says, best weapon I have seen with a little homebrew are 10 jars with baby-sized flammable clay golems in oil with acid sacs in their mouths. Wow, that's complicated.
Oh,
Enemies deal with crying babies on fire, vomiting acid.
That sounds like, I mean, if you're using the optional rules for sanity in your campaign, then I definitely think that's going to take your players are going to have to take a serious hit on the sanity meter there. Good grief. As soon as you said baby size, I was like, oh man, this is going to be bad. Like, why are we not talking like loaf of bread size or big burrito size? Like, why are we using baby as an analogy here?
Character says, the secret is that everyone sucks at CV writing.
Yeah. Very, very true, I guess. So I want this black colour.
Okay. Jurassic Joe says, if you ever do Void Giants from the Creature Codex, maybe consider doing something similar to what you did with the Gith, and also have their clothing style resemble the Eternals from Marvel Comics.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I love that idea. Definitely. I would 100%. Anything that I can do to get a Jack Kirby reference into D&D, I will 100% do that. I love the Kirby crackle in particular, so I will definitely get some nice black spots going on in some things, and yeah, for sure, I think that's a really good idea. Yorick, by the way, is suggesting in like almost every single one of my videos a different type of giant as his Monster Monday suggestion. So at some point when we get like, obviously my suggestions are based on like popularity, and he's the only person suggesting these giants. So like at some point when we run through like the more popularly suggested things, eventually I'm gonna have like a whole year of just drawing giants by the likes of it, like different different kinds. It's gonna be really, really good.
What's your top giant?
Yeah, what favourite kind? Yeah.
Group says bag of holdings are great, but I've been meaning to homebrew an ethereal creature that specialises in pickpocketing extra dimensional storage like that.
That's a really cool idea.
It's quite evil though, because it's a good feeling when you get the bag of holding.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You know it's not a bag of devouring.
Yeah.
So you get quite smug when you get that. So
one of my favourite ideas that I'm still eager to use in a campaign is to give people a pet that is both a bag of holding and a bag of devouring. So like it's a like in my head, again, this is something I might do for a homebrew Monster Monday at some point, but it's called a withholder rather than a beholder, and it's like another aberration a bit like that, and it's just a creature that if you feed it and you treat it right, then it will store things in its interdimensional stomach for you. And it floats around or like walks around and follows the party. But if you don't feed it and you don't treat it right, when you put something in there, it will just eat it, and you'll never see that item again. So I quite like the idea of like it being a responsibility test, the kind of like thing that you always see on TV shows of like people having to look after the egg baby type thing for a homework assignment in like American TV shows. I really like that idea. So. Okay. And we're done with this guy, so. How are we doing?
Let's see. York says he doesn't have an absolute favourite type of giant. For me personally, having only one type of giant is like only having one sad slice of cake.
Oh, very good. I like it. Very true.
And Kurtman says the best giant is the trow, a giant kin that shuns weapons in favour of kicking people with its huge legs.
Love it.
Okay.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Goop says, might I suggest looking into Chester from Don't Starve as an inspiration for this withholder?
I've never played Don't Starve, but I think someone has suggested like looking into Don't Starve before for something. I can't quite remember, but yes, I will keep an eye on that, and I'll make sure to make a note of that when I get a chance. Thank you.
Yours says he's suggesting a Super Saiyan that has Kirby Crackle aura.
Super Saiyan.
Super
It's a
Saiyan.
Dragon Ball Z reference. That has
okay.
Kirby Crackle aura. That sounds very fun. I like the sound of that.
Oh, I think we're getting some colour on the go now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Goodness. How long have we been doing this stream, by the way? I'm quite interested to see how long it was taking me. Okay, you know what? This might be one of my quickest drawings ever. I'm quite pleased with how swiftly we've gone through this from start to finish. You know. So I reckon there's like 20 minutes or something. Tops,
yeah.
like,
On the home run.
yeah. Get my edgy character done in here.
Is it cathartic to draw?
Kind of is, actually.
Exercising your edgelord demons.
Yeah, I think it's more the fact that like drawing him, like he was a really edgy character, but like drawing him now as a non-edgy person is quite cathartic, because like I don't know, like I just can't I can't find the edge. You know what I mean? Like I can't help but not make him quite so edgy. That makes sense. Bella, are you having a little grumble over there?
Why?
What is going on with you today?
Yeah. First day to carry you.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're barking, barely.
Yeah. What's going on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe should have seen some sardine.
Yeah. Please don't actually have illicits in my house. That's...
It said, would you ever want to revamp him and play him again?
Definitely. Yeah. I might put him as like a character that my players can find in my D&D world or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's a patron himself. You never know, like a patron of blood magic or something edgy like that. Would be quite cool. So yeah, maybe I can put him in that capacity. That'd be quite fun.
Says, have you ever heard of the Chinese mythological story of the I think it's Xingtian? Xingtian?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Could you tell us a bit more about that, Garrett?
Natalie's going for it now, isn't it?
Joining them too now, Bob.
Yeah, she's getting grumpy. They probably want it on our bed, to be honest.
I'm probably like, why have you guys not left the house so that we can just party like we usually do?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I don't like this watchful gaze you're giving us, guys. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think you gave me the option of replaying my first character later in the game because she was sent to another dimension or another plane.
Yeah.
I think the party did actually rescue her and bring her back, but I really wasn't wanting to play her anymore, so I think I either just ran off into the horizon. Or,
yeah, I think it's always like the
I
cringe
definitely
factor.
I wouldn't want to play my first character either.
Yeah. It can be fun. Especially in that one.
Learning curve.
Yeah, for sure. I really did enjoy this guy, but he's so edgy. So maybe he is an NPC that my players can find and interact with, but not necessarily have them come back all the time. Would be quite nice.
Mm-hmm. Do you think your DM at the time kind of encouraged this sort of edge lords?
I mean, he was a big goth, so yeah. I think he had quite a traditional setting in mind, and I think I really ruined that with my kind of big Warcraft elf ears and all my like I want to have a scythe and all this kind of thing. I think he wanted a kind of traditional kind of maybe Greco-Roman inspired campaign that I ruined entirely with this character. But I think he was so desperate for me to play because we were already friends, and he was like, I want to share this part of my life with you. Please come and get involved in D&D. You would really like it. I think that's maybe he was just nervous of not allowing me to have what I wanted in case it meant that I would not continue playing. But little did he know I would become obsessed with it and end up making a YouTube channel about it.
So the Shan was a god who was beheaded in battle, but his warrior spirit was so great that his nipples became his new eyes and his belly button became a mouth. Oh, I think I've seen that illustrated.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow,
I didn't realise that's what that was about, but I have seen an illustration of that.
Yeah, have you suggested this monster before, Yorick? Like, you definitely suggested the creature that's a lion's head with like just a wheel of feet before. You have found some pretty good ones.
Greta says, I always wanted to ask you this, why do you use so few colours to paint your illustrations?
I just like a cohesive colour palette, really.
We're both fans of limited colour palettes.
Yeah, I don't like too much noise, I don't like too much mess, and if there's like a bunch of like quite realistic, I like stylized imagery basically, so if it's clean
also,
and
you
crisp
already
and clear.
spend so much time on these videos every week. So.
Yeah, I think if I spent any longer making them all, I'd...
Have you ever used an obelix in one of your games? In my campaign I used an elder obelix as an advisor for an illithid nobleman.
No, I have not. I've absolutely not. That sounds really, really cool though. How did that pan out for them?
And Grant says, so I have been getting into the idea of making every combat a puzzle.
Nice.
Last session I threw rust monsters at the PCs. They found that magnesium counters the rust effects and burns the monsters.
Very, very cool idea. Love it. Well done.
How did they figure that out? I'm always curious as to.
Yeah, someone passed an intelligence check in a very serious way.
Remember the puzzle?
Oh god.
You set up, and it was like, what is the shortest word in the periodic table?
Oh
I was
god.
like 10,
Yeah.
10, and then nobody were very like unconvinced. I was even unconvinced that was like spoil the puzzle.
Oh. I don't remember that. I remember a lot of when you said, "Do you remember that puzzle?" So many puzzles flashed back to my brain then of like ones that I felt like I made like really obvious hints and they were clearly not. And then the whole party spent a very long time trying to bulldoze through a puzzle that I had made too frustrating to figure out, like by not dropping enough hints.
Yeah.
That is a big deal one.
Yeah, I think we've missed some very blatant clues looking back on this.
Sometimes, but it's interesting to know as well what is and isn't actually blatantly obvious to different people. Like that's one of the best things about D&D is realizing like how your own brain works, because it's like very often supremely different from the people around you, and like the things that you think are obvious or people might not get, and things that you think are really subtle, people might think are not, that kind of thing. It's interesting to know if you're being obvious or not as well. Excited to see how this guy turns out. It's been a long time since I've seen him.
Hey Grant says the room was metal, all the iron and steel was totally rusted apart from the stuff that the magnesium was attached to.
That's really cool.
So,
that's a really cool idea.
They were inside an argent cube at the time.
Okay. I'm unaware of what that is.
The party hasn't met the obelisk I mentioned yet.
Oh, right.
You could start seeing his influence sooner than later, as it acts like a worm tongue for the nobleman.
That's a really cool idea. I love that idea.
Yeah, sorry, people are noticing that the dogs are snoring.
Yeah.
Grant says Bella makes a good dungeon sound effect. That's Myrtle.
Yeah, Bella doesn't snore that badly. It's just Myrtle is.
The small lapdog snores like a trucker, and the large pit bull type is fairly cuddly and quiet.
Yeah. Yep. We got them the wrong way around.
looking good.
Thank you very much. So just got a bit more gold trim to do on him, and then I think we're getting there.
I'm surprised it doesn't have any scarring. I feel like that's also another.
See now, I might actually put some of that in there, but I'd like to do that as a layer on top of, like as a semi-transparent layer on top of once I've done the skin and stuff. With tattoos and things, especially if the scar's healed over and it's not like going through the hair or whatever. But
Gitson says that it might just lurk. They've got commissions to work on.
feel free, yeah.
What kind of commissions are you working on? Is it D&D related? Grant says Archon is a plane in D&D where it's full of giant floating iron cubes that armies live on.
Oh,
Sounds
nice.
nightmarish. Great. Please don't send us there.
Wait, hang on. Is this the
I'm gonna say that wrong. Archeon?
Archeon? Is that the plane of law where the Modrons and stuff are from? I can't remember. Like the opposite of Limbo. I'm not sure. Could be. I'm bad at remembering my planar names. Yeah, this is the downside of homebrewing everything. Like you do tend to forget like canon D&D stuff.
There's just so much. There's
a lot of.
and there's like what? How many years? 40 years?
Oh
Or
god, yeah.
more than that?
I don't know. So 74, I think it came out. Is that right?
Almost 50. Oh, math.
I don't know. I'm bad at maths.
Yeah.
Asking the wrong guy. I just do the pretty pictures. Oh, my back's starting to hurt now, actually. Press up here.
Oh, your art says if you scroll up a bit, you should find my answer to your questions.
Oh.
Sorry, I missed something.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of messages
There's
going
a lot
on,
of
unfortunately.
messages here. Sorry, are we?
Through all that.
There's supposed to be a. I'm not sure how you pronounce this. Jan, I think I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Giant Tome of Beasts 2.
Oh,
Also
nice.
says we haven't drawn the Roving Mauler.
Roving
Which would
Mauler.
be perfect for April.
Yeah, the Roving Mauler. I think that is the lion thing I was talking about, like lion-headed. Is it a lion head with like 6 feet, 8 feet, or something like that? And it's just a lion's head with those feet in a spiral around its head, and it just rolls around and eats people. So yeah, that is a brilliant monster. Definitely want that to come up at some point soon. But it's a pretty obscure one, Yorick. I don't know if many people will have heard of it. Maybe I'll get a chance to put it in. Now that's some snoring, by the way. I can hear. That's yeah.
Gitson says that they are working on custom D&D sheets with stats and a full character drawing.
That's so
awesome.
cool.
So merging it into a front page.
That's a really awesome idea. Nice one. Love it.
Yeah, no need to lurk. We're interested.
Yeah, yeah.
In all these things. Yeah, custom character sheets. I think my first character as well had a really elaborate sheet that I decorated, and then I filled it all out in pen and realised that you had to just keep
editing them all the
making
time.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it nice and chatty. We don't want anyone getting upset here, or there's no need to be antagonistic. So we can put you in timeout again. To be honest, I was just trying see what I had as an admin, see what timeout actually looked like. But let's keep it chill, guys. There's no need for that.
positive community here. So keep it light.
It says, how do you run krakens in your world? In my world, they're cursed gods that borrow quite a bit from Eldritch Horror aesthetic.
Nice. I have to say, I'm always very tempted to make krakens like actual Starspawn, so like pretty much actually Cthulhu in my campaigns, or at least like a physical body of Cthulhu, if that makes sense. Mostly because they fit so well with that. They have so many additional limbs. They might as well be a kind of Cthulhu-like creature, and I feel like my adoration for Cthulhu and my desire to put him in campaigns is so high, but also the fact that if you want to, he's so impossibly, I mean, like, that's the whole idea of Cthulhu, really, isn't it? That it's so outside of cognizance. It's so outside of, that the horror comes from not being able to fight it and not being able to understand it and not even being a blip on its radar, something that is adversarial at all, because you are so inconsequential to it that even your best efforts will not even impede its thought process. There's nothing you can do to frustrate it. So I sometimes have it as a representation of an actual like Starspawn or something in the kind of in the neighborhood of Cthulhu. So like some sort of thing that has swam through the depths of space. I like to have them as kind of like the progenitors, the creatures that made illithids, essentially, or perhaps be a representation of the ships that brought them to my campaign world sometimes, like ancient technology perhaps that people can find, and this kind of flesh technology that lies dormant when it's not activated as well. So yeah, they usually feature in my world in some capacity or another, but whether or not people actually get a chance to use them, get a chance to fight them, is another thing entirely. I plan on having them be a part of my world, because I've kind of mentioned in the last stream that we did that there are elder things, there were elder things present on my campaign world. And my players have largely solved that kind of crisis in our last endeavours, but I still like hints of them being out there here and there. So perhaps something fossilised that they can awaken, or this kind of looming threat of something very Cthulhu-esque, basically, if we choose to go down that route. So yeah, I'm a big fan of krakens in my campaign worlds. I think it's one of those things that I've never used a Tarask, and I'm always on. I feel like you can only really have a Kraken or a Tarask in your campaign world, and I've never used one, and I would really like to. So if I can, I mean, spoilers, if I can put a Tarask in my next campaign setting at some point, I think I will, because I, as a DM, have never used one, and they are part of my kind of toolbox that I feel is the toy I've never got to play with, basically. So maybe I won't use a Kraken in my next campaign world, because it's so monstrously powerful that you can only have one or the other, basically. So
I'm just going to borrow that idea from my earlier and bring cryogenically frozen mind flayers with me.
Yeah.
I've been warned.
Thanks.
Where are we? Scott says his wife Deb, who is a 8th level druidess of Rhiannon, says hi.
Oh, hello.
So feel free to, we've got a little while left, I think, before Josh finishes, so
Yeah.
Deb, if you want to fill us in on your druidess, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Crafty has a trait table that we'd like to share with us. We're just trying to figure out how to get a link to it.
Oh, I saw
She
your.
can't post links, unfortunately, in here. I don't know if you've got a Twitter account or something. You could maybe just give us your Twitter handle and
Yeah,
post,
please.
post there.
Definitely do.
Okay, yeah, you can go to Craft a Tabletop and check out the website for the crypt table.
Nice.
Unfortunately, we can't get a link, but
Yeah, crafty
I'm sure
tabletop.
you'll find it if you just Google that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't feel the troll in it. Let's see what else. If you just go to the download section, you'll find some cool stuff over there. That's awesome.
Nice one.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Crafty.
Crafty.
So do you know about the Ultraverse line of comics by Malibu? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if you didn't.
Yeah, no, I've not heard of that. I've not heard of that at all. What kind of stories are told in that? Is it? I have a kind of authority style image in my head of traveling to different universes with Ultraverse, but I have no idea. I've never heard of that. Please do enlighten us.
Vixen has misplaced the file for her Fish Prince character. Oh,
Fish
there's
Prince.
nothing worse than losing a file I've been working on for a while.
Oh,
Hope you
no.
find it. Group says if an ellipid is cloned, would its younger self be the tadpole it came from, or would it also duplicate the humanoid that the tadpole was placed on?
Interesting. Personally, I would go for the duplicating the humanoid DNA as well. Maybe a new thing would be made because it's like, kind of the Fly-esque, like a merging of DNA. Maybe it would just come out as an ellipid, or maybe it would be some other third thing. But my how I would game that out is that a third thing is made, because I feel like a tadpole alters the thing that it's into becoming a mind flayer, as opposed to taking over a thing that it's jumping into, if that makes sense. So like, rather than replacing the DNA or whatever happens to be in your D&D campaign, let's say D&D, DNA even, I feel like it adapts and alters and merges with the thing that it's making, because a pure tadpole that grows too big becomes one of those, what are they called? Illithid worm things. There's massive, like a purple worm. My brain is not working right now. You know what I mean? The giant kind of brain worm thing. I mean, I feel like the players will know what that is. My brain is not coming up with it right now. So yeah, I definitely feel like the other being is a huge part of how an illithid comes into being. So I feel like if you cloned it, some new thing I think would come out rather than a new mind flare. Have you ever done that in your campaign? Have you? In which case, how did you game it out? What do you guys think? How would you make a clone of the tadpole? Would you make a clone of the illithid, or would you make a third new thing? I'd be tempted to make, like, maybe that's how I would make homebrewable, sorry, not homebrewable, playable mind flayer creatures. Someone talked to me about that in the last live stream about would I make mind flayers playable race in my campaign, and maybe that's what I would do, make a cloned 1B, so some sort of merged extra being, maybe called the Flayed or something like that, a new species. So we'll see.
Yeah, guys, so I think we're kind of approaching the end here. We've probably got a little while left.
I know that, yeah.
But we're on the home stretch. So do you guys want to make some suggestions for what you'd like to see if we do another one of these videos?
Yeah, good idea.
Make it tomorrow night or in a week, but
Yeah.
if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see or talk about, we can do that. The world building one was really great fun yesterday,
Yeah,
so
really love that.
we could do that. And Dante, you're going to like this, is very excited for the new Baldur's Gate game.
Oh yeah, cannot
And
wait for
trailers are
that.
super creepy.
Cannot wait for that.
Yeah. There's been
also-
a lot of chat in our group about Baldur's Gate.
Also the fact that you can play Vampire Spawn. I made vampires a playable class in my campaign world, and because I love vampires so much. So yes, the fact that you can be Vampire Spawn, hell yes. I've already bagsied that, I've already claimed that among our D&D players when we come to play Baldur's Gate together, so I'm super excited about that.
Yours says, so far the characters that really speak to me are the crime and prototype from what I've seen at least. Let's create a demon lore together.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I love demons.
Grant says, all caps, Ringhead. Is that?
Ringhead. Did he? Oh yeah. He sent me a homebrew monster on over on Patreon, I think.
M14SRV says, getting a 3D printer for D&D stuff, good or bad idea?
I love the idea. So here's the thing. I had a kind of bootleg 3D printer that is a PLA or ABS extruder, and it was very clearly like a knockoff version. It was a gift a few years ago when 3D printing was slightly less commonplace, I guess, slightly less being less explored, we'll say, it's never fully worked for me. It's never properly printed anything. I've learned a lot about 3D printing from fixing the various things that have gone wrong with it, so I know what it should be doing, but it's never been great for me. One part of that is because I've never had a nozzle that is tiny enough to extrude something the size of miniatures, let's say. But even then, it's always been a bit troublesome. One day, I dream of having one of those a dip 3D printer because they do such amazing fine detail and they are built for miniatures. Like if you go on to my Miniverse, I think it is, or something like that, they sell both the miniature specific 3D printers and have a lot of files and things like that from miniature creators. They are wonderful. I would highly recommend looking at them. Basically, I would say if you know what you're doing, or you know that you're going to dedicate the time to figuring out what you're doing, yeah, why not? Have fun, enjoy yourself, go nuts. If not, if you just think it might just figure itself out, then don't worry about it. It's not necessary. None of these things are necessary, but if it's a hobby that you're really interested in doing and you would find it really fun, then absolutely.
You've got to be dedicated to sort of building, adding to it, amending it, troubleshooting. It's not something you can just set up and press a button and go.
Or at least it wasn't when I first started out, so I don't know.
So we've got some suggestions for future videos. That was what I was saying. Let's create a demon lord together.
Yeah.
We should make a character based on what the comments say. That's
a nice idea.
Scare 75, hello. You got to do a self-portrait, but as if you were a character in your own campaign.
That sounds pretty fun.
That's good fun. Dante would like another lore / world building stream, but that's
absolutely.
Just being selfish. No,
we totally want to get back into that.
Sam says would love anything related to world building.
Yep.
Or villain building, because being a good villain can be really hard.
Yeah,
really fun.
for sure.
I would like a villain building one.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Crafty says, speaking of homebrew monsters, I'd like to see you draw one of those. Maybe some that your patrons come up with.
That's a cool idea.
More giants.
More giants. Let me guess, was that Yorick? Yeah.
Cool.
Needs more giants.
It looks like some people in the comments know a bit about 3D printers.
Nice.
Hopefully that will help you in 14 SRD.
And let me know, because again, this is one of those things that I've been obsessed with, but since my failings with a 3D printer, I've never been brave enough to try it again. One day I will. One day I will, and I would love it. But it's, I've been burned too many times. Literally, actually. I've been burned quite a lot by a 3D printer.
But I mean, we could be in isolation for months, so we've got plenty of time to be talking about all of these subjects.
Yes.
Okay, it's a Fallout reference, so I'm not getting this, but you'll get it. Grant says, I made a Jurassic by printing a janked death claw.
Oh yeah, it's just saying like a screwed up.
Right, from Fallout 4 and then sculpting on top.
That's a really good idea. I actually have, I want to get back into my miniature painting videos at some point. I seem to do like one a year or something ridiculous. But my plan is at some point to build my own Tarask by using sort of like bits from various dinosaur toys and also sculpting parts of them as well. Because I do like to sculpt little bits here and there with epoxy and stuff. So yeah, I definitely recognise the find this thing and then add to it. I definitely feel like Deathclaws in Fallout were inspired by Tarasks, and they definitely invoke the same level of fear in me. I remember playing New Vegas and finding the Deathclaw Sanctuary and being like, oh, that's just got to be a name to get people to leave, and it did make me leave, but in pieces. So yeah, I love a Deathclaw. They're fantastic, and yes, great model for a Tarask, absolutely.
Grant says let's make lots of magic items.
Magic items seems like a really good idea, and it's much less time consuming to draw as well. So we could probably get through like a couple or something. It'd be really nice.
Good says maybe it would be cool to homebrew first edition monstrosities, like the ones that are just a bunch of animals mashed together.
Yeah, I love those.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, let's do some of that. Have some fun, you know.
Scott says, does Adobe Illustrator work as well or is Photoshop still rule the roost? And maybe this could be answered by Mrs. Arcane for you. Oh, hi. That's great. Yeah, I mean, you definitely could illustrate like this and use an Illustrator, but it's a whole different beast, really. Like, I think once you've got your head around one program, it doesn't automatically mean that you can apply that to the second program. So Josh is quite happy working in that. I work in a much more graphic style, so I quite like working in Illustrator, but if you're just starting out and you know Photoshop, like may as well stick to it. It's a really powerful tool. So unless you are going to blow your images up massive and you need them in vector format, you go.
Yeah, I don't know Illustrator. There's some things that would be really useful to learn on Illustrator to import into Photoshop, but I think it sounds like one or the other is mostly what you need. But if you enjoy figuring out things like that, then that could be really useful.
Mira says, I've noticed that terrasts bear a passing semblance to the Japanese kaiju monster named Angurius.
Ooh, very cool. I'll have to Google that.
Sam says, what if we worked on building the Far Realms? They're the home of the Illithus, Beholders and Abelis, but there's no text on the plane, so creating that... Oh, that's...
Is there not?
Creating what might be within the home of aberrations is fun. That is a really
That sounds like a really nice idea. That could be a really good set of lore videos or something. That sounds fun.
Says, your jewels would look better in blue or violet. Are you leaving them out?
I might edit them, I don't know. Put a little glow in there. They do need some contrast for sure.
You're like, I'm almost at the
yeah, exactly. Crafty, don't make me do this. I've got tattoos yet to do and maybe a magical effect, and then I am going to bed because I'm so sleepy. Maybe I can reflavor them at some other time for you, but I just want to go to bed now. But I also can't stop until he's done because he's my baby. Not like that. Edit undo. I didn't say that. Control V. Right. Okay. So what am I doing now? Right. Oh yes.
As far as I could find, there isn't much on Far Realms other than it's alien and a weird place.
Sounds good.
Crafty and says blue, definitely sky blue, but I know Josh is like just powering through this today, so I think they're going to stay yellow.
I guess they're yellow for now, but I can always come back to them. So I just want to sleep now.
Scott says, as an architectural designer, I use drafting software Softplan to create dungeons. Which can translate into a 3D walk. Oh my goodness, that would be a 3D walkthrough.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost 11 o'clock, Crafty, but we are early birds.
Yeah.
Get up early, go to bed early.
We're not the cool kids, Crafty. We don't stay up late.
Yeah, we're in our 30s, I mean, I've been going to my bed early since as a teenager. So
I love you.
Group says, what if the monstrosity I mentioned earlier was a duck wolf? The faster I beg my pun, fowler cousin to the owlbear.
Oh my god. Oh my god, actually, did you see a while back someone did like city griffins, and they were like raccoons mixed with pigeons and stuff like that.
God, that's brilliant.
It's amazing. Like all these non-majestic griffins. I love them so much. I forgot I wanted to put them in my campaign world because they were just like, I can't remember what it was called. They had like a name for it. It was like dirty griffins or something like that. It was just like really, really rubbish creature.
Griffin.
Yeah. It's really brilliant. That's really cool.
Oh, Crafty says his wife is already in bed. He stayed up late.
Oh, thanks.
Really
That's cute.
M14 SRB says, alright, I get it now, pensioners need to stay isolated.
Thanks very much. Yeah, you don't have to come to the next stream, by the way.
Yeah, we're rocking that pensioner lifestyle.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
A little bit early, about 50 years early, but we're good.
Yeah, look, we're just preparing for when we are pensioners, that's all. Like,
We've got that covered.
hell yeah. Sorry, I'm doing my concentration music. I need to make that gem yellow, Crafty. I need to turn it green. Metal is just teasing me now without snoring. Like, I'm so tired. It's Like, I didn't even have an early start today. Like, I'm just an old boy.
You're happy sitting at the computers.
Yeah, that's
all
true.
day.
My back is proper killing me now. Which again is a very...
Yeah, M14 are visas. Ironic because all the pensioners are out loving life down at the shops.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, they've very clearly told like people over 70 to stay indoors nicely.
Yeah.
And when I was at the shop today,
Yeah.
to pick up a few essentials, it's just full of older people.
What are you doing? Tell me what to do.
There's someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Trash griffins.
Trash griffins, yes, I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yours says there's just something about the blatantness of Calark that I just love.
I do not know.
Is Calark a giant?
Maybe. I don't know.
What is Calark? Can you let us know?
Oh, is this like Clark, as in Clark Kent? Is this your superhero-y giants, the moon giants that have like heat vision? Maybe? Or is my brain not working right now? Probably both.
Yeah, Scott says survive the blitz, COVID-19 is meh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very true.
yeah. I showed up at my grandparents with toilet roll and hand sanitizer for them, and my gran sent me packing with them. She didn't want my patronising gifts. M14 SRV says, the best one I heard was my granddad. I didn't hide under the table during the war, and I'm not going to hide from the Snickers. I work in a supermarket, and at least 75% of our customers are elderly, and for some reason they're in no hurry to get their groceries chopped. Oh, the real name of Gladiator from the Marvel comics.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember. That's why I've heard it before. Right, we're going to do these tattoos, and then I'm going to put a little magic glow in his hand, and then we're going to end it there, because I promise we are done.
You make the glow blue?
No, it'll be blood red and within my current colour palette, just to annoy him.
Sorry, Crafty, I tried.
Oh dear. Right, okay, here we go.
I love that you name your layers and they're not just like layer one, copy.
No, I can't stand that. The bad, I don't remember what his tattoos look like.
Oh, it's face tattoos.
Oh, sorry?
Face tattoos.
Yeah.
You have this all memorized?
I have like some of it memorized.
Yeah, I did my best. Crafty, if I've ever made any suggestion at the end of one of Josh's illustrations, like, oh, you know you could add this or change that colour, it never gets done.
No.
So, you know, he's stubborn.
Yeah. I know exactly what a drawing is going to look like the moment I start it, and I never really change it from there.
Oh, hi Jared. Jared's just catching the end of this. He got off work.
Hello.
You think that dog's snoring really something? It's not. That's not even her.
It's low effort snoring.
Tiger is 44 says, you're still up. Tired it? Yes.
Yes, my
Yes.
goodness. Yes, we are.
Grant says, random thought, what traits might dinosaurs have had that we have no idea about?
I think raptors could whistle.
You know, I was just about to say whistler.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe they had lips.
oh,
Just don't know about it.
that's really cute.
Hmm.
Right, okay. Right, now.
Sauropods make thunder with their tails. That's cool.
Ooh.
Oh, hey, Myrtle, you woke up. You snore yourself awake.
Let's do-
Have people seen Myrtle before in a video?
I think they have.
Yeah.
I think they have.
Stegosaurus could have sonar. That's pretty
Ooh, that's a nice idea. Actually, what am I doing? I want to go over here and use some blood.
Oh, Crafty says he never knows what his drawing's going to look like. I'm the same, Crafty, but Josh knows exactly what his drawing's going to look like from
Yeah, the moment I start
thought of it.
editing.
And he won't move off of that
Never.
original image. Oh, the merging of souls is happening already. You're thinking like, welcome to marriage.
Yeah, we've been like this for a while.
Oh yeah, they have seen the no blog.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you've used their sound effects before as well.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah.
Kits and saying this is looking sick. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
No, I'm saying thanks I'm saying thanks on your behalf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I put a lot of work into this, guys.
Mm-hmm. Bella's having a little dream.
You guys hear that? Okay, Bella. She's in full shrimp position if you're familiar with that dog pose.
Alright, okay. Then we'll just do some OSLs and we are done, I swear.
Crafty, do you use Illustrator at all? I have some ideas for how to make magic bits using the blend tool. I think that would be quite
That sounds really cool.
cool, so we should definitely try that sometime.
Yeah, definitely. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go.
What's wrong?
I've just done that in the wrong layer. Hang on. I can fix it for the most part. It's just this finger tattoo thing. It's gonna be a bit rubbish. Oh well. Right. Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. I was wondering why that was so. That's much more how that should have turned out. There we go. No, we're done. I'll leave it. Okay, right.
Guys, we have a final.
We have a final piece. This is Len. This is my old edgy character, and I love him dearly. But he's super edgy. So, thank you very much for joining me for today's live stream, where I drew one of my old characters. I'm going to go to bed because I'm an old man and I'm really sleepy. But I hope you enjoyed joining us today. And I hope you enjoyed getting to do some stuff that you might not normally do while you're locked inside because of the coronavirus. We're hopefully going to do a few more streams like this in future. Maybe one tomorrow, maybe not. Depends how old fogyish we are and if we're busy or not. But I'm going to try and do as many streams as I can while we're all stuck inside and being forced to be isolated, so that we can all band together as a community and do a bit more fun stuff. So yeah,
so it seems like a lot of your DMs, so maybe invite some of your players along for some of the world building and get them involved as well.
Make sure to let me know what you guys would like to see or talk about next time. Maybe we'll do it turnabout. We'll do another kind of like a bit more talking focused one like last night's one next time, and then alternate between that and drawing, or maybe just do drawing every time. I don't know, whatever you guys fancy basically. But for us it'll be good night. I hope you guys stay safe, wash your hands, pass your constitution saving throws, and stay creative. So thank you very much.
Okay, good night guys, thanks.